The Priestess's time travel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 701, The World of Great Conflict. After the gods returned to their positions, Su Qingni stayed in this world for another 100 years. As long as Dong Huangtai left this world before her, the real holder would wake up. Feeling that the god of light in her body was about to wake up because of the increase in strength, Su Qingni left the body of the god of light without hesitation. The god of light Balder opened his eyes, looked into the void, and said softly, "Thank you." He didn't know who the other party was, but he was very grateful to the other party. The other party saved him from falling in his sleep, helped him find his former subordinates, and pointed out the way to become stronger. The other party must be a god from another world. A god 100 times stronger than him. He must work hard to practice and improve his strength to be able to break free from the shackles of this world, travel to other worlds to gain knowledge, and maybe he can even meet that great god. Su Qingni's harvest this time is very rich. Several gods have fragments of the ancestor witch on their bodies, the wind god, the thunder god, the water god, and the goddess of life. Su Qingni took advantage of the fact that they had not returned to the position of gods and separated the fragments of the ancestor witch from their souls. If they return to the gods, those fragments may be absorbed by them, and then there will be no way to separate the fragments from their souls. Su Qingni handed the fragments to Empress Pingxin, who was very happy and disappeared with the fragments. Su Qingni returned to the Lich world to rest and adjust. Every time she practiced, her strength would increase. With the increase in strength, the time required for practice and adjustment would be less. This is a very good virtuous cycle. I crossed the boundary again. This time, Su Qingni crossed a princess who was married to a foreign country. However, she did not reach her destination. On the way to the marriage, the princess died under assassination. Along the way, many people came to assassinate this princess, not only from other countries, but also from her own country. This world is a world of great contention. The world is divided into 5 countries, namely, Yan, Qin, Chu, Qi and Wei. These 5 countries fought against each other and there was constant friction. Today, Yan and Qin attacked Wei together, and tomorrow Wei and Qi attacked Yan together. Just like the warring states period in the history of flower planting on Earth. If there is no great unified country, such chaos will never stop. The original body was a princess of Qin. As a pawn of the alliance between Qin and Qi, she was sent to Qi to marry the king of Qi, who was 40 years older than her. The original body was unwilling, but how could a teenage girl be willing to marry an old man? But as a princess of a country, she had the responsibility of a princess and had to marry. So, with reluctance to leave her homeland and confusion about the future, the original owner got on the carriage for the wedding. Then, there were assassinations along the way. How could other countries allow Qin and Qi to form an alliance? Qi and Qin did not border each other, and the contradictions between the 2 countries were very small, while they often had wars with the other 3 countries because of border issues, and the contradictions were very large. If Qin and Qi formed an alliance, the 2 countries would definitely unite with others to eliminate the other 3 countries. Therefore, the 3 countries sent assassins to kill the original body on the way to the marriage. Although the 3 countries all wanted to destroy the Qi-Qin alliance, they also had their own thoughts and calculated other countries, wanting the original body to die in other countries and let other countries bear the wrath of Qin. Not only the killers of these 3 families, but also people in Qin and Qi did not want this marriage to be achieved. These people only saw the struggle for power in their own countries, and they were short-sighted and ignored everything else. The original owner died at the hands of a maid beside her. The original owner never thought that the maid beside her would betray her. The maid grew up with her. The original owner was sad, not for this maid, but she had guessed who the mastermind behind the maid was. Because of sadness, the original owner's life was taken away by the injury that was not light, and then Su Qingni took over the original owner's body. The maid who hurt the original owner is dead. She committed suicide. She must have felt guilty for letting the original body down, and she committed suicide immediately after stabbing the original body. Most of the people who were sending the bride ran away after seeing the original princess dead. If they returned to Qin, they would not survive. It was better to run away and save their lives. When they ran away, they also divided up the original princess's dowry. Of course, these were all bold people. The timid ones did not dare to run away at all and were left behind in confusion. Just when they were extremely desperate, someone found that their princess fingers moved. The princess is still alive. This discovery surprised everyone. They all gathered around and stared at the princess with burning eyes. As soon as Su Qingni opened her eyes, she was frightened by these enthusiastic gazes and closed her eyes again. It took a while before she opened them again. "Princess, you're awake, so good. The princess is not dead." Everyone shouted happily. "Shut up." Su Qingni frowned and shouted. "It was too noisy. My ears were deafened by these people." Everyone shut up quickly. Su Qingni weakly issued an order to everyone. "Yi Zhang, you carry me. Xu Yan, you organize the people and see if there are any valuable things in the dowry. Collect them into a big package and we will leave." "Leave?" Another maid of the original body, Bixiang, asked in a coquettish manner. "Princess, why should we leave?" Su Qingni patiently explained to these people, "If we don't leave, we will face the next wave of assassinations. With your skills, you can't stop the assassins' assassinations." The guards with strong martial arts all fled, leaving behind some weak eunuchs and maids who couldn't stop the assassins at all. After hearing Su Qingni's explanation, everyone immediately sped up their actions and packed up the valuables as quickly as possible. Everyone came to Su Qingni with a clothes moth package on their backs. Su Qingni glanced at everyone and knew how many people were left around her. There were only more than 20 people, more than half of whom were women, and there were only 8 eunuchs. Su Qingni felt that it was Alexander to run away with such a group of guys who had little knowledge in martial arts. Resting her chin on Yu Zhang's shoulder, Su Qingni pointed in a direction. "Go there." "Princess, there are wolves and tigers in the mountains," Xu Yan said. "I know." Su Qingni sighed, "But only by entering the mountains can we have a chance of survival. Otherwise, everyone will die. Assassins from the 5 countries, do you think you can escape from them?" Everyone swallowed their saliva, not daring to say anything else, and walked towards the direction Su Qingni pointed. "Anyway, they are all going to die, so let's give it a try. What if they are lucky and don't encounter man-eating beasts?" Chapter 702, The World of Great Conflict 2. Su Qingni naturally would not put herself and her remaining men in danger. When she chose to enter the mountains, she thought of a way to deal with it. In this world, Su Qingni could not use her power, and her body was injured. The beginning was hell-level difficulty. But she could not protect herself. She still had a brain, and there was a lot of knowledge. She could find some knowledge to adapt to this world to protect herself. After entering the mountain, Su Qingni asked her men to pick the herbs that she thought were useful, and then instructed these men to mix the herbs, make spices that can repel mosquitoes, make pills that make wild animals hate to stay away, and make powder that can instantly fascinate wild animals. Only these 3 things can ensure that everyone can live in the mountains. When everyone saw the effects of the 3 medicines, they felt confident and sighed that the princess was worthy of being a princess, knowing more than them and being better than them. Following the princess, their lives were guaranteed. The group went deep into the mountains, and many armies did not dare to go deep into such a depth. The army was not afraid of man-eating beasts, but they were afraid of the insects and snakes that were everywhere in the mountains. Who knows which insects and snakes are poisonous? A bite from them can kill people. Moreover, they are small in size and numerous, and it is impossible to guard against them. The group found a valley and settled down temporarily in the valley. They did not want to continue to go to Qi State for marriage. The assassinations along the way made them realize that it was impossible for the princess to reach Qi State safely. They did not want to return to Qin State either. If they returned to Qin State, they would also die. It is better to live than to die. Even if they have to build their own houses, work hard, and exercise according to the way the princess said, they are exhausted every day, but they still want to live. Su Qingni sat under the tree. The sun shone through the branches and leaves, and a little golden light fell on her, making her seem not immortal. In the hearts of the men, Su Qingni also left the category of mortals. She was their god. Su Qingni's eyes looked into the distance, sorting out the memories of the original owner in her mind. From the memory of the aide, Su Qingni discovered many interesting things, but the original owner herself had never noticed them. The original owner's marriage to a distant place was actually an open target. The original owner had long been abandoned by the king of Qin and was a princess married to a foreign country in name. In fact, there was another princess who was married to a foreign country, Princess Pingxin, who was of the same age as the original owner. The king of Qin had many women, and many of his children were of the same age. There were two of the same age as the original owner, one was Princess Pingxin, and the other was Princess Niangniang, who had the best relationship with the original owner. Princess Niangniang was 1 month younger than the original owner and had been with the original owner since childhood. The two had a very good relationship. The original owner took care of her as if she were his closest sister. However, what Su Qingni saw was Princess Niangniang's jealousy of the original owner. Princess Niangniang was not as beautiful as the original owner, and she did not have a good figure as the original owner. Princess Niangniang's mother was not as favored as the original owner's mother, so the king of Qin liked the original body more than Princess Niangniang. What made Princess Niangniang jealous the most was that the man she liked fell in love with the original owner, volunteered to become the original owner's guard, and volunteered to accompany the original owner to Qi. This made Princess Niangniang extremely jealous. She didn't want the person she liked to go to Qi and never see him again. So she had the idea of killing the original owner, thinking that if the original owner died, the person she liked would return to Qin and not go to Qi. She didn't think that if the original owner died, the people who protected the original owner to Qi would be convicted, and her lover might die with the original owner. However, the fact is that her lover did not choose to die with the original owner because of his death, but ran away for his own life. Compared with love, her lover valued his life more. There are no good people in the palace, and even the original owner is not a pure person, but she has a good mother who protects her very well. Compared with other princesses and princes in the palace, the original owner is much kinder, at least she is not too vigilant about the sisters who have a good relationship with her. Moreover, this girl is still too young and has little experience. She sees many things but does not understand why. Yu Zhang walked up to Su Qingni with Pingxin and bowed to her. The two people were exhausted, but they had just returned from outside the mountain and brought back news from outside the mountain. The news that Su Qingni was stabbed to death has spread throughout the 5 countries. Qin and Qi were all furious and asked Wei for an explanation. The person died in Wei's territory. Wei cried out that it was unjust and introduced a group of assassins to prove that the assassins were from Yan. It was the Yan people who killed the princess of Qin and put the blame on Wei. Yan cried out again that it was unjust, saying that the assassins were bribed by the Chu people. The 5 countries were involved, and it was very lively outside. There were more than 10,000 soldiers on the border of each country, and the battle was about to break out. However, before the battle started, news came out again. The princess of Qin, who is married to Qi, had arrived in Qi and moved into the palace of Qi. The alliance between Qi and Qin had been formed. The other 3 countries found out that they were deceived by Qi and Qin, and are now negotiating the 3 kingdoms alliance. But how could Qi and Qin allow them to unite? They sent spies to instigate the 3 countries, making the 3 kingdoms alliance progress very slowly. Princess Pingxin became the queen of Qi. Yu Zhang's tone was low. When he heard the news, he understood that they were all pawns abandoned by Qin. Their lives were doomed as soon as they left the Qin palace. Thanks to the princess's prompt decision to take them into the mountains to hide, otherwise, whether they returned to Qin or Qi, they would have only one way to die. Su Qingni hummed, something she had expected. Seeing the expressions on Yu Zhang and Bing Xuang's faces, Su Qingni smiled slightly. If you don't want to be a chess piece that is easily abandoned by others, and don't want to lose your life easily, then work hard to practice. The physical training skills I taught you are good things. When you have fully mastered them, you can easily defeat 10 big men by yourself. Yu Zhang and Bing Xiang showed joy and longing on their faces, and showed respect and admiration to the weak girl in front of them. As expected of a princess, she actually knows so much, and is so kind, teaching them how to become stronger. They will no longer complain in their hearts because they have to squat in horse stance for an hour every day. The princess is the best master, the most wise master, and it is their luck to be able to follow the princess. In the future, if the princess asks them to go east, they will never go west. If the princess asks them to walk the dog, they will never fight cocks. Su Qingni can see what they are thinking from their expressions, and can't help but frown, waved her hand, and let the two go away. Chapter 703, The World of Great Conflict III. 3 years later, a kind of exquisite utensils called porcelain occupied the upper market. This kind of thing called porcelain has the same function as pottery, but it is more exquisite than pottery. The white body of the utensil is like the best white jade, and the white base can also depict bright pictures. It has more varieties and more styles than jade, and the price is cheaper than jade. This made people who could afford jade abandon jade and choose to use porcelain. Rich people bought porcelain sets one by one, and poor people would save money to buy 1 or 2 bowls and plates to entertain guests. Merchants selling porcelain would release new models every year, which made rich people feel short of money, but they gritted their teeth and paid for it. Because buying and collecting porcelain has become a fashion. Niangniang, which makes and sells porcelain, was accepted by the upper class because of porcelain, and had its own power among the 5 countries. On this day, a team of carriages and horses came to Niangniang in the capital of Qin state. Seeing the high pile of straw on the carriage, passers-by all stared at the carriage with shining eyes. This is the new goods of Niangniang. I wonder when they will be on sale? Hurry home to prepare money. When Niangniang starts selling, hurry up and buy them. Thinking of this, passers-by quickened their pace and left Niangniang. They did not see the shopkeeper of Niangniang actually come out of the shop. He looked respectful, not like he came out to receive new goods, but to greet people. The shopkeeper raised his hands flat in front of his chest, bowed his head and bent down. His head and hands were level, saluted to the carriage in the front, and said, "Welcome, master." The curtain of the carriage was lifted, and a young woman dressed as a woman came out first and jumped off the carriage very agilely. Seeing all this, the shopkeeper couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The maids around the master are so powerful, and the master is not an ordinary person. The young woman lifted the curtain and waited for the people in the cart to come out. Then, a young man in a brocade robe came out of the carriage. The young man has a handsome face and extraordinary demeanor. A glance makes people feel submissive. The shopkeeper couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Even the princes and sons of the Qin royal family couldn't match his master's demeanor. Seeing the young man get off the carriage, the shopkeeper hurriedly stepped forward, bowed to the young man, led the young man into the shop, and walked into the backyard where guests could not enter. When the shopkeeper knew that the young man was coming to the capital of Qin, he prepared the best room for his master in the backyard. At this moment, he led the young man into the room and observed the young man's expression. Seeing that the young man did not show any dissatisfaction, the shopkeeper breathed a sigh of relief. "Li Songyan, you did a good job." The young man drank a sip of tea brought by the maid and praised the shopkeeper. "Thank you for the compliment, master." Li Songyan was very happy to receive a compliment from his master. He was originally a businessman who was framed and desperate. Thanks to the master who saved him, took him in, and entrusted him with an important task. Since then, he decided to devote all his loyalty to his master, regard the master's words as the golden rule, and he would be very satisfied to get a word of affirmation from the master. "How are things going with the Shen family and Madame Shurao?" the young man asked. Li Songyan hurriedly reported the intelligence he had collected to the young man. After the death of the head of the Shen family, the king of Qin took the opportunity to take back the military power of the Shen family. Although the eldest and second masters of the Shen family are still in the army, more than half of their soldiers were taken away by other generals under the order of the king of Qin. The Shen family's control over the army is now less than 1/10 of what it used to be. The power of the Shen family has been reduced, and the treatment of Madame Shurao in the palace has also plummeted. The young man sighed when he heard this. In fact, she could think of these without Li Songyan saying them. Well, it's her. Because this young man is a woman dressed as a man, Su Qingni. This world is really unfriendly to women. Women have a very low status and can only exist as vassals of men. In the early days, Su Qingni changed into men's clothes and pretended to be a man for convenience. Later, she got used to her identity as a man and was too lazy to change back into women's clothes. However, she did not deliberately conceal her identity as a woman. Most of Li Songyan's trusted subordinates knew that their master was actually a woman. Madame Shurao is the original body's biological mother, and the Shen mansion is the original body's grandfather's home. There are many women in the Qin Wang's harem. Why Madame Shurao can be favored by the Qin Wang and has the ability to protect women well in the harem is because the Shen family backs Madame Shurao. The Shen family has controlled the military power of the Qin state for several generations, and its influence in the army is very large, which makes the Qin Wang afraid of the Shen family. Over the years, the Qin Wang secretly sent his own trained personnel to the army, wanting to share the Shen family's military power, and he did it. After more than 10 years of planning, the Qin Wang has already controlled a considerable part of the power in the army. This is also the reason why he dared to push the original body as a target. Otherwise, if the military power is still controlled by the Shen family, Guanwang will never sacrifice the original body's daughter and make the Shen family unhappy. And this time, the death of the head of the Shen family, that is, the original body's grandfather, allowed the Qin Wang to seize the opportunity to regain all the military power. Without the military power, the Shen family is no longer a threat to the Qin Wang, so naturally there is no need to please Madame Shurao. Madame Shurao lost her natal family to rely on and lost the favor of the King of Qin. Her situation in the palace can be imagined. You must know that Madame Shurao is not a good person. When she had the support of the Shen family, she did a lot of things and offended many women in the harem. Now that Madame Shurao has lost power, why don't these people run up and step on her? Su Qingni rushed to the capital of Qin State when she heard the news that the head of the Shen family was about to die. Madame Shurao was very good to her daughter, and all her motherly love and energy were tilted on her daughter. When the original body died, the one who was most worried about her was this daughter. Su Qingni took over the body of the original body, so naturally she had to help the original body to be filial to Madame Shurao, the mother. In the past few years, Su Qingni could not help Madame Shurao no matter her own strength or the power in her hands, so she did not come to the capital of Qin State to see Madame Shurao. But now she has a certain amount of power, and Madame Shurao is in a dangerous situation again, so she naturally has to come to see Madame Shurao. By the way, ask Madame Shurao if she wants to leave the palace and leave with her. Su Qingni got a lot of intelligence from Li Yansong about the capital of Qin. On the surface, King Gaiaxun was selling porcelain to make money, but in reality, it was Su Qingni's intelligence agency distributed to various countries to help her collect intelligence from various countries. Through this intelligence, Su Qingni gradually gained more understanding of various countries, allowing her to formulate more detailed countermeasures for different countries. Chapter 704, The World of Great Conflict Part 4. Have you had a chance to enter the palace recently? Su Qingni asked Li Songyan. There is no scholars, farmers, merchants and artisans in this world, and merchants are the last. Merchants are rich people, and rich people will be respected and have status. If they are rich enough to rival a country, they can become guests of honor in the palace. Li Songyan is the shopkeeper of King Gaiaxun. He has received the attention of King Qin and the nobles. Naturally, he has also been invited to the palace banquet and has been to the Qin palace. However, there has been no palace banquet in the Qin palace recently, so Li Songyan cannot enter the palace as a guest. Reporting to the master, the new goods of King Gaiaxun have arrived, and a batch will be sent to the palace first. Li Songyan replied. Su Qingni said, okay, then I will pretend to be a delivery boy and go to the palace with you. Yes. Li Songyan agreed and left the room to prepare for Su Qingni to enter the palace. A young woman dressed as a woman came forward to serve Su Qingni to rest. This woman is naturally Bingxiang, who married Shuyan a year ago. But after getting married, she still stayed with Su Qingni most of the time. Su Qingni washed up and went to bed to rest. Today's carriages don't have rubber tires, and springs, a shock-absorbing tool, can't be made with today's blacksmithing technology. Without these two things, the bumps of the carriage can be imagined. Su Qingni's bones were shaken all the way. Now that she got off the carriage, she naturally had to rest well. After a night's rest, Su Qingni woke up early the next morning. Bingxiang had woken up long ago, prepared hot water for Su Qingni to wash, and served her breakfast. After breakfast, Su Qingni refused Li Songyan's follow-up and took Bingxiang out to visit the capital. This capital was unfamiliar to Su Qingni. Although the original owner had lived in the capital for more than 10 years, she had been trapped in the palace and had never left the palace and had never seen the scenery outside the palace. Only when the marriage team went out, she looked at the scenery in the capital through the gap in the curtains of the carriage. The capital of Qin was very prosperous, with many pedestrians coming and going. Yes, all those who have some money have moved to live near the capital. The closer to the capital, the safer it is. In places like the border, not to mention the rich can't stand it, even ordinary people don't have many. Su Qingni walked slowly, and suddenly a group of people on horseback ran towards her. Being able to ride a horse in the capital, their identities are not ordinary. Su Qingni took a closer look and recognized two of them. They were the half-brothers of the original body. These two were 1 or 2 years older than the original body, very unrestrained and flamboyant, and also very popular with the king of Qin. I heard that they like hunting. I guess this time they have invited the children of the princes and ministers in the capital to go out of the city to hunt together? Su Qingni pulled Pingxin back to the door of a store and waited for a group of people to pass by. When the last person passed by, Su Qingni's eyes flashed, and she recognized that the person was actually the guard Chu Yan, who was liked by Princess Niangniang. This person left immediately after the death of the original body. She thought Chu Yan would not return to Qin, but she didn't expect him to come back. Moreover, he has not been convicted for the original owner's affairs, and he seems to be doing well. Although Chu Yan is also from an aristocratic family, his family does not have much power, but he was able to get away safely from the original body's affairs. Su Qingni does not believe that there is no trick in this. What role did Chu Yan play in the wedding incident? Did he betray the original body from the beginning? Go back. Su Qingni took Pingxin back to Qingyaksuan. After finding Li Songyan, Su Qingni asked him to collect information about Chu Yan. Li Songyan agreed and went to deal with it himself. Su Qingni sat on the stone bench in the yard, frowned, thinking about Chu Yan's affairs. Pingxin asked, "Is the master thinking about Chu Yan?" She also saw Chu Yan just now. Pingxin, the maid of the original body, also knew that Chu Yan liked the original body. Su Qingni sighed, "I was assassinated by Binglin at the beginning. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Maybe Chu Yan also intervened. How is it possible? Doesn't Chu Yan like the master?" Pingxin said in disbelief. "How can a superficial love compare to a high position and generous salary?" Su Qingni said, "I'm afraid Niangniang is just being used. Who else could use Princess Niangniang and send Chu Yan, except the king of Qin, the ruler of a country?" Before all the information about Chu Yan was collected, it was time for Qingyaksuan to deliver porcelain to the palace. Su Qingni changed into a coarse cloth dress of a shop assistant, covered her face, and followed Li Yansong into the Qin palace. The palace was not so easy to enter, and those who wanted to enter the palace were strictly checked. However, Qingyaksuan would send a batch of porcelain to the palace every once in a while. The guards all recognized Li Yansong and knew what he was doing, so they were not too defensive against them. After talking to Li Yansong for a few words and seeing clearly that the carriage was indeed loaded with porcelain, they let the group enter the palace. After entering the palace, Su Qingni separated from Li Yansong and others and went to the palace where Madame Shirao lived. Although she was not familiar with the capital, she was very familiar with the Qin palace, especially the area of the harem. Su Qingni could walk around with her eyes closed without being discovered by the guards. Madame Shirao's palace is now like a cold palace. Many servants have left the palace, and only a few people who are loyal to Madame Shirao are left. Su Qingni saw Madame Shirao sitting by the window in a daze, and her whole body lacked vitality. Compared with Madame Shirao in the original owner's memory, the woman in front of her looked more than 20 years older, and her originally black hair was mixed with silver threads. Su Qingni sighed in her heart. First, her beloved daughter who depended on each other died, then her father who relied on her died, her brother's family was defeated by her man's calculations, and her backer fell. Madame Shirao has experienced too much during this period, and the pain in her heart tortured her. No wonder she has become like this. Su Qingni walked out of the shadows and called softly, "Mother." With the original owner's memory and knowing every detail of the original owner's relationship with Madame Shirao, Su Qingni was able to play the original owner perfectly and prevent Madame Shirao from discovering that she was not the original owner. This was done to give Madame Shirao psychological support so that she would not despair of life. Madame Shirao was shocked when she heard Su Qingni's call. This voice. Qingyang. Madame Shirao called out and quickly turned to look at Su Qingni. However, what appeared in front of her was a man in linen clothes. Madame Shirao was disappointed, but then her eyes widened. As expected of a mother who deeply loves her daughter, although Su Qingni wore men's clothes and put on makeup on her face, Madame Shirao still saw familiarity in these disguises. Chapter 705, The World of Great Conflict. Qingyang. Madame Shirao spoke again, with certainty and joy in her voice. "Mother." Su Qingni didn't expect that Madame Shirao would recognize her daughter at first sight. She hurried forward a few steps, came to Madame Shirao's side, squatted down, and looked up at Madame Shirao. Madame Shirao smiled, stretched out her hands, and tremblingly touched Su Qingni's face. She traced Su Qingni's eyebrows and eyes with her fingers. The more she traced, the bigger the smile on her face. She said in a tone of reproach, "You child, Using such inferior powder on your face will hurt your skin. Su Qingni smiled. Mother, I am staying in someone else's house now. There is only a male owner in that house, no female owner. Where can I get good rouge? Madame Shirao heard this, tears fell, and her smile was reflected, which made people feel distressed. These days, you have suffered a lot. Is that male owner your savior? No, he is my subordinate. Su Qingni said. Madame Shirao was stunned. Subordinates. The daughter who was raised by her to be delicate and naive actually had her own subordinates? What on earth had she experienced over the years? How much hardship had she endured? Yes. Mother, after surviving the assassination, my daughter took Bingxiang, Lexiang and others and fled into the mountains. We stayed in the mountains temporarily and began to develop the power in our hands. Su Qingni told Madame Shirao everything she had done in the past 3 years. In order to avoid Madame Shirao's suspicion in the future, it was better to tell her clearly at the beginning. Madame Shirao was surprised to hear what Su Qingni said about her way of doing things, which was so different from her original body's previous way of doing things, but she did not doubt it. She only said, no wonder you always like to look for books in the palace's library. It turns out that there are so many skills hidden in the books, and you have learned them all. Su Qingni smiled and said, yes, my daughter has heard a poem that talks about the benefits of reading more. Madame Shirao acted interested and followed Su Qingni's words and asked, what poem is it? Read it out to me. A rich family does not need to buy fertile land, for there are thousands of bushels of grain in books. A stable family does not need to build a tall building, for there is a golden house in books. Do not hate that you do not have a good matchmaker when you marry a wife, for there are beautiful women in books. Do not hate that no one accompanies you when you go out, for there are many carriages and horses in books. If a man wants to fulfill his life's ambition, he should read the 5 classics diligently in front of the window. There are thousands of bushels of grain in books, and there is a golden house in books. These 2 sentences are good. Madame Shirao nodded. Su Qingni smiled. There is a yan ruiyu in the book. Madame Shirao reached out and patted Su Qingni's forehead, laughing and scolding. You child, you have become so slick. The mother and daughter chatted for a while, and Su Qingni explained her origins to Madame Shirao and wanted to take Madame Shirao away from the palace. Madame Shirao naturally wanted to leave with her daughter. She had no feelings for the King of Qin. The person she cared about most in this world was her daughter. Madame Shirao was naturally willing to leave the palace, but she also had hesitations and worries. If she left the palace, what would happen to her loyal subordinates? Would they be left in the palace to die? And if she really disappeared in the palace, I am afraid it would implicate the Shen family. Although the Shen family had been suppressed by the King of Qin and was no longer a threat to the King of Qin, who knew whether the King of Qin had the intention to completely eradicate the Shen family? If the King of Qin used her disappearance as an excuse, wouldn't she become a sinner of the Shen family? Su Qingni knew Madame Shirao's concerns and gave her an idea. Mother, you can send those loyal servants out of the palace first and let them wait for you somewhere. I have a fake death drug here. After taking it, Mother will look like a dead person. I think these people in the palace will not be careful to arrange a funeral for Mother. At that time, I will find a chance to steal Mother's body. I don't think anyone will check it if I put a corpse in it. In this way, Mother can leave the palace and will not implicate uncles. Madame Shirao was surprised. Fake death drug? There is such a magical drug. Yes, I saw it in the library of the palace. Then Mother, should you go to the library to read more books? Su Qingni smiled. Mother, can you read? Madame Shirao choked and raised her hand to slap Su Qingni in annoyance. Madame Shirao is good at dancing and playing the piano, and she sings well, but she just doesn't like reading. If a book is placed in front of her, she will fall asleep in less than 3 minutes. You've grown so strong that you dare to tease your mother. Su Qingni laughed, and the mother and daughter talked for a while. Su Qingni said goodbye to Madame Shirao and left. When she walked out of the room, Su Qingni saw Madame Shirao's personal maid Dalu standing at the door, guarding the door for them. She nodded and instantly increased her speed and disappeared in front of Dalu. Dalu stared at the direction where Su Qingni disappeared in surprise for a long time, walked into the palace, and said to Madame Shirao, the princess has become so amazing. Madame Shirao sighed when she heard it. This child must have suffered a lot to become what she is now. Dalu hurriedly comforted Madame Shirao, praising Su Qingni all the time, and helped Madame Shirao imagine the good life she would have after leaving the palace. Madame Shirao was happy to hear this, and she followed Dalu to imagine it. and the sadness in her heart disappeared. Su Qingni slipped back to Li Songyan. Li Songyan had been waiting for Su Qingni for a long time. Seeing Su Qingni coming back, he breathed a sigh of relief and immediately took Su Qingni out of the palace. Although he believed that his master was powerful, this was the palace after all. There were so many guards, and his master was only one person. It was not safe to fight four hands with two fists. Back at Qingyaksuan, Bingxiang hurried forward to help Su Qingni wash and change into comfortable clothes. Su Qingni handed over the arrangement of Madame Shuao's loyal servants to Bingxiang. 2 days later, Madame Shuao's loyal servants left the palace one after another. Bingxiang arranged them to live in a manor outside the capital city, and Chu Yan's information was collected and sent to Su Qingni. Sure enough, Chu Yan was ordered by the King of Qin to monitor the original owner and create opportunities for assassins to kill Su Qingni. The King of Qin promised Chu Yan a high position and a generous salary. Chu Yan couldn't refuse it. He immediately gave up his so-called love and began to calculate the life of the original owner. The assassins from other countries were not strong enough and could not get close to the original owner. Chu Yan used male beauty to seduce another maid of the original owner and let the maid kill the original body. The maid did not commit suicide, but Chu Yan killed her to silence her. It was Princess Niangniang who was wrongly accused. However, Su Qingni did not feel guilty towards Princess Niangniang. This girl was not a good person. The girl who assassinated the original owner was actually a spy that Princess Niangniang bribed and placed beside the original owner. Chapter 706, The World of Great Conflict VI. Su Qingni pointed her finger at Chu Yan's name and said to Bingxiang, "I don't want Chu Yan to see tomorrow's sun. I obey your order." Bingxiang replied. Even if Su Qingni didn't give this order, she would not let Chu Yan go. She dared to betray her master and plot to kill her master. She is their enemy. Su Qingni asked, "Is there any news about Niangniang?" Bingxiang replied, "Princess Niangniang has married. Her husband's family is the Zhang family of the Grand Commandant. She married the young master of the Zhang family." Zhang family. Su Qingni sneered. She really found a good husband's family for herself. The Zhang family is the confidant of the King of Qin and the new nobles in the capital. The Zhang family does not have a deep foundation. When he was young, the Grand Commandant Zhang helped a nobleman and got the opportunity to study. He was hardworking and intelligent, and he learned a lot of talents. He recommended himself to become the Prime Minister's retainer and had the opportunity to meet the young King of Qin at that time. Zhang Taiwei took this opportunity to climb up to the King of Qin, helped the King of Qin deal with the other brothers of the King of Qin, and became the King of Qin's confidant. After the King of Qin ascended the throne, Zhang Taiwei also rose in status and obtained an official position. He was promoted all the way and became Taiwei. Zhang Taiwei's history of making a fortune is somewhat similar to that of Li Si. In the eyes of others, Zhang Taiwei is a nouveau riche. Families with a solid foundation look down on the Zhang family and will not marry into the Zhang family. Only those who are trying to curry favor with the powerful or whose families are declining will think of marrying into the Zhang family. Unexpectedly, the King of Qin valued Zhang Taiwei so much that he even married his daughter to Zhang Taiwei's son to support Zhang Taiwei. Tisk, if there were not so many beauties in the harem and the King of Qin did not have so many children, he would have thought that the King of Qin and Zhang Taiwei were in true love. Su Qingni asked again, "Niangniang must be living a very happy life, right?" Bingxiang smiled. Who dares to disrespect the princess? As for the fact that the Zhang family was respectful to Niangniang on the surface and that the young master Zhang was keeping a mistress outside, many people knew it well, even Princess Niangniang knew it. Although Princess Niangniang wanted to tear off the concubine of young master Zhang, she could do nothing because the Zhang family was protecting her. Although she was a princess, she was just one of the many daughters of the King of Qin and was not particularly favored, while General Zhang was the King of Qin's confidant. She had a conflict with the Zhang family, and the King of Qin would not stand on the side of her daughter. The next day, Su Qingni heard about Chu Yan falling off the horse and dying. Su Qingni just thought that riding a horse in this world is not so safe. At least important accessories for riding a horse, such as stirrups, have not yet appeared in the world. Without stirrups to support the feet, people riding on horseback are not very stable, and falling off the horse often happens. Su Qingni immediately asked Bingxiang to bring paper and pen, and then drew stirrups on the paper, and gave it to Li Songyan, asking him to find someone to make it. After Li Songyan heard about the function of stirrups, he was very fast, put down the things at hand and immediately went to find someone to make stirrups. The stirrups are simple in structure and can be made in just half a day. Li Songyan installed the stirrup on the horse's back. Su Qingni was the first to try it out. She was satisfied and asked Li Songyan and others to try it out in turn. After trying it out, the others were satisfied with the stirrup. Su Qingni asked Li Songyan to make more stirrups so that her people could use them as soon as possible. She didn't ask anyone to keep it secret. This thing can't be kept secret at all. As long as Su Qingni and her group use the stirrups, others will be able to see and discover the function of the stirrups. The stirrups are simple to make and can be easily imitated. 2 days later, the news of Madame Shirao's death came from the palace. Su Qingni knew that Madame Shirao was faking her death, so she naturally wouldn't be sad. She found an opportunity and sneaked into the palace disguised as a servant of the Shen family when the Shen family entered the palace to burn incense for Madame Shirao. Madame Shirao's funeral was very deserted. There were few people in the mourning hall. At night, there was no one to keep vigil. This made it convenient for Su Qingni to do her work. She fed Lady Shirao medicine and woke her up, and was too lazy to put any more bodies in the coffin. Anyway, with a degree of disrespect that the people in the palace had for Lady Shirao, they would not check if there was anyone in the coffin. Su Qingni changed Lady Shirao's clothes, covered her face, and climbed over the wall with Lady Shirao on her back to leave the palace. Li Songyan and Bingxiang met them outside the palace wall. When they saw the figure jumping down from the wall, they immediately stepped forward to hug them and leave. Sure enough, there was no news from the palace about Lady Shirao's funeral. Lady Shirao's coffin was buried soon. After hearing the news, Lady Shirao felt extremely relieved and smiled at Su Qingni. I didn't want to enter the palace at the beginning, but that man issued an order to force me to enter the palace. I thought I would spend my whole life in the palace, but I didn't expect that there would be a day when I would leave the palace. Mother, you are free now. You can go wherever you want and play however you want. The original owner listened to the old man next to Lady Shirao telling about Lady Shirao's youth. Madame Shirao, who was born in a military family, loved riding horses and hunting, and loved laughing heartily in the wind. This was a woman who loved freedom, but she was deprived of her freedom because of power. Madame Shirao was happy to hear this, and her eyes were filled with longing. After receiving Madame Shirao, Su Qingni had finished her business in the capital of Qin State, and she wanted to take Madame Shirao back to her base camp. The base camp was in the valley where she had entered with Yu Zhang and his men. Su Qingni had people develop the area around the valley, built a road leading out of the mountain, and built a very large villa at the foot of the mountain. The villa is an external base, and the valley is a secret base. If there is danger, the people in the villa can hide in the valley. It is easy to defend and difficult to attack, and it is very safe. Before leaving Beijing, Madame Shirao took Su Qingni back to the Shen mansion secretly to meet her two brothers. The two generals Shen did not expect that Madame Shirao was still alive, and even Su Qingni was still alive. Before bringing Su Qingni into the palace, Su Qingni did not reveal her identity, but only took out a token from General Shen. The two brothers thought that Su Qingni was familiar to their father and sister, so they helped Su Qingni to enter the palace. But they didn't expect that they were helping their own niece. This niece is not simple. The two generals Shen looked at Su Qingni with flashing eyes. Su Qingni smiled and let the two uncles look at her. When they had looked enough, Su Qingni said, "Uncles, my niece has something to say to you." General Shen said, "Let's go to my study." The three uncles and nephews talked for a long time in the study. What they talked about specifically, no one else knew except the three parties involved. Even Madame Shirao and the two wives of General Shen didn't know. After that, Su Qingni took Madame Shirao away. Chapter 707 to Chapter 707, The World of Great Conflict VI. Mother, look. This is the kingdom I have built for you. Su Qingni stood in front of the villa, pointing at the gate, and said to Madame Shirao with great passion. As soon as she finished speaking, Madame Shirao slapped her in the face with love. What nonsense are you talking about? How can you say anything? Can you say the word kingdom casually? Su Qingni smiled and shrank her head, her eyes flickering. She thought the word kingdom was very good. The world has been divided for too long, and it's time for a great unification. How can you not have ambitions in a world of great contention? Su Qingni took Madame Shirao into the villa gate. Madame Shirao was immediately attracted by the pastoral scenery in the villa. Along the way, she had seen rural farmland, but it was nothing compared to the one in the villa. The crops in the villa grew very well, many times better than those outside. In the villa, dogs barked, chickens crowed, and children laughed, creating a lively and peaceful scene. A small river runs through the villa and gathers into a pool of water on one side of the villa. Next to the small river stands a very tall wooden wheel, which keeps turning all the time. I don't know what it is used for. Madame Shirao asked in confusion. That's a water wheel. Su Qingni explained to Madame Shirao what a water wheel is. Su Qingni looked at the ditch by the river. The water wheel leads the river water to the ditch, and then the ditch brings it to the fields. In this way, it will be much more convenient for farmers to water the fields. Su Qingni simply told Madame Shirao everything about the villa. Fish are also raised in the rice fields. These fish eat rice flowers. The fish meat is very delicious and has the fragrance of rice flowers. It is very delicious. There is a breeding farm there. There are pigs, cattle, sheep, chickens, ducks and geese. There are many fruit trees planted on the mountain, many kinds, and all the ones my mother likes to eat are planted. Su Qingni applied the ecological farm and three-dimensional breeding to her own villa. This scientific farming and breeding method was initially doubted by Su Qingni's men, but the huge harvest convinced everyone and they no longer doubted Su Qingni's words. As for why there are so many people in the villa? In such an era, except for the rich and powerful, how can ordinary people live well? They work hard all year round but suffer from hunger all year round, especially the people in the border areas, who are all in danger of losing their lives at any time. Su Qingni sent out men to recruit people, and it was easy to recruit many people. They followed Su Qingni's men here and established a villa. In ancient times, the land was vast and sparsely populated, and the land was cheap, not to mention the mountains and forests. Su Qingni only spent a small amount of silver to put several mountains and the land under the mountains under her fake identity. Madame Shirao followed Su Qingni around the villa. Seeing the villa so full of vitality, she was amazed and said proudly, "My daughter is amazing. I have heard of the saying of a paradise on earth. Is your villa a paradise on earth?" Su Qingni smiled and said, "Many people say so. Mother, I think if the people in the world live such a life, then the world is also a paradise." Madame Shirao sighed and said, "You dare to think. But the world is divided into 5 parts, and there are royal families and nobles in various countries who control them. They only enjoy themselves. How can they be as compassionate to the people as my daughter? Making the world a paradise is just a delusion." Su Qingni said, "Mother, if you don't implement it, it will be a delusion. If you work towards this goal, maybe this idea will come true, and it will not be a delusion." Madame Shirao's heart jumped when she heard this, and she looked at her daughter intently. After 3 years of not seeing her, her daughter's facial features have opened up, become mature, and become more beautiful. The most attractive thing is her daughter's eyes, which are full of confidence and ambition. Madame Shirao was speechless. She didn't know what to say. Stop her daughter? No, she didn't want to. Since her daughter is capable and has ideas, why should she stop it? Daughters are no worse than men. Why can men achieve success and establish a career, but daughters can't? This question was in her heart long before she got married. At that time, she wanted to go to the battlefield like a man, but she had to enter the palace because of an imperial decree and became one of the many women in the harem, and had to rely on men to live. Her daughter is capable and can create such a great foundation without relying on men. Why should she stop it? She should support it. Mother. Su Qingni saw that Madame Shirao's expression kept changing, and couldn't help but speak worriedly. Mother, it's okay. Madame Shirao gathered her mind, smiled at her daughter, and said, "Qinggang, do whatever you want, Mother supports you." "Thank you, Mother." Su Qingni was happy. Madame Shirao reached out and stroked her daughter's head, feeling the smoothness of her hair, and smiled. "Why should we thank each other between mother and daughter? That's too formal." "That's right, Mother." Su Qingni led Madame Shirao to the innermost part of the villa. Passing by a house, they heard the sound of children reciting their lessons. Confucius said, "Is it not a pleasure to learn and practice it from time to time? Is it not a pleasure to have friends coming from afar? Is it not a gentleman to not be angry when people do not know him?" Zheng Zi said, "I examine myself 3 times a day. Am I unfaithful when I work for others? Am I untrustworthy when I make friends? Do I practice what I have learned?" Su Qingni said to Madame Shirao, "This is the school of the villa. The children of the people in the villa can go to the school for free." She pointed to the other direction where the whoosh ha ha sound came from and said, "That's the martial arts school. Children can go there to learn martial arts." Madame Shirao nodded. "Are you cultivating talents to be used in the future?" Su Qingni smiled and said, "Yes and no. If there are talented people among them, I will use them. If there are no talented people, but at least they have mastered the skills, they will be able to live more easily in the future." "You are a kind girl," Madame Shirao said. Although her daughter has changed a lot, her kind heart has not changed. This is also good. She believes in the saying, "Good is rewarded with good, and evil is rewarded with evil." She also believes that there are gods above her head. The gods are watching everyone's behavior. If they do evil, the gods will definitely remember it and settle accounts with them at that time. Madame Shirao followed Su Qingni to the valley again, but she finally chose to live in the villa. Every day, Madame Shirao would take her loyal men to the villa for a horse race, and Puer would take them to hunt in the mountains. She seemed to have returned to her daily life when she was still waiting to be married. But there were too many days like this, and it became boring. Su Qingni simply handed over the daily life and accounts of the villa to Madame Shirao. After a period of time, Madame Shirao managed it tightly and in an orderly manner, with the demeanor of a strong woman. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 708, The Great Conflict. In a blink of an eye, 5 years passed. The friction between the 5 countries became more and more serious, and eventually developed into a 5-country war. The lives of the people became more miserable. Not only were the food in their homes forcibly confiscated, but even the men were forcibly conscripted and sent to the battlefield. Because of the high mortality rate on the battlefield, in order to make up the number of people, even children as young as 10 and the elderly over 60 were conscripted and sent to the battlefield. More and more people could not bear these hardships and began to flee their hometowns. Su Qingni's villa became one of the refuges for the people to take refuge. There is also another refuge in the territory of Chu State, which is said to be the territory of a great nobleman. The great nobleman is different from other nobles. He treats the people equally. As long as the people living in his territory are diligent and affirmative, they can live a life of being well-fed and well-clothed. Su Qingni was very interested in the great nobleman and asked someone to investigate the great nobleman. The great nobleman is called the Fifth Blade. Not Noitra. There is no Sierra Ecord or Hueco Mundo in this world. The nobleman's surname is Fifth, and his name is Blade. Fifth is a very rare surname, and it is said to be a branch of an old royal family. The country established by that royal family has been destroyed. Later, the people in power were worried that these royal forces wanted to restore the country, so they moved them out of their hometowns and settled them in other places. The people in power divided the old royal family from the first to the 8th into 8 branches and moved them away, so the descendants took the 5th family as their surname, and the 5th family was one of them. The 5th Blade is 3 years older than the original body. He took control of the entire family 10 years ago. Perhaps, at that time, the 5th Blade had the ambition to change the situation in the world and accumulated strength in secret. The 5th Blade should have investigated Su Qingni a long time ago and moved the 3-dimensional farm model of the villa to his own territory. What a smart person! Seeing the information of the 5th Blade, Su Qingni became more and more curious about this person. And she had a hunch that this person might be an old acquaintance of hers. The 5 Kingdoms War was temporarily stopped when Wei and Yan were destroyed by the other 3 countries. Qi, Qin and Chu divided the land and resources of the 2 countries. They planned to rest and recuperate temporarily, and then continue the war when the national strength was restored. After annexing 2 countries, the ambitions of the leaders of the 3 countries were all aroused. They all coveted other countries and wanted to become the only master of the world. However, they wanted a truce, but some people did not allow it. The 5th Blade took action, and Su Qingni also intervened. The 2 parties instigated the 3 countries, and the 3 countries fought again. Qi was destroyed by Qin and Chu. The king of Qi could not accept that Qin betrayed their alliance and stabbed Qi in the back until his death. After the destruction of Qi, Qin and Chu would not go to war again in the short term. After 2 consecutive wars, they consumed too much and could not support them to fight another war. The strength of the 2 sides was equal. If they fought again, There would be no benefit except consuming resources and population. However, at this time, Su Qingni and the Fifth Blade rose up at the same time. The two parties were rich in resources, strong in strength, supported by the people, and full of talents. It didn't take too much time for the two parties to kill the Qin royal family and the Chu royal family respectively, and turn the territories of Qin and Chu into theirs. The two forces divided the river and ruled. Su Qingni founded China, and the Fifth Blade founded the Central Plains. The two parties were eyeing each other on both sides of the Yangtze River, and both wanted to annex each other. Su Qingni did not kill the people of the Qin royal family. After all, they were relatives of the original owner's bloodline. Su Qingni demoted them to civilians, gave them a farm, and let them work to support themselves. Madame Shirao is now the Queen Mother. She ran to the King of Qin and his women in gorgeous clothes and walked around to let the King of Qin know that Madame Shirao was not dead, and also let the King of Qin know that the person who destroyed the Qin state was actually his daughter Princess Niangniang, who was pushed out to die. The King of Qin spit out a mouthful of old blood at that time, and regretted it in his heart. And those women in the harem also regretted it. If they had treated Madame Shirao better, would they have asked her to leave the King of Qin? Especially those young women. They didn't want to accompany the old man, the King of Qin. With their looks, if they left the King of Qin, they would definitely be able to find men willing to support them, and they wouldn't have to live this kind of life of daily labor. Their hands were all calloused. Madame Shirao didn't bother to care about these women. She just came to show off, and then she left after showing off, waving her sleeves, without taking a cloud. Returning to the King of Qin's palace, Madame Shirao saw her two brothers. Su Qingni was able to take over the Qin state so quickly, and the two brothers of the Shen family played a big role in it. Before Su Qingni took Madame Shirao away, she talked with the brothers of the Shen family in the study for a long time, which was to subdue the two brothers and let them use them for themselves, and wait for the opportunity to use the influence of the Shen family in the Qin army to help Su Qingni take over the Qin army. The two brothers of the Shen family thought that this opportunity would come after a long time. They did not expect that their niece was so powerful. In just 5 or 6 years, their niece conquered the capital of Qin State, destroyed Qin State in one fell swoop, and unified the entire north. This achievement was not achieved by the ancestors of the Qin royal family. Big brother, little brother. Madame Shirao walked towards the two brothers. The two brothers of the Shen family saluted Madame Shirao. "We are siblings, why are you so polite?" Madame Shirao hurriedly stopped them, and then asked curiously, "Aren't you stationed in Jiangnan? Why did you return to the capital?" "But what happened?" General Shen said, "It is indeed a big deal. The Emperor of Jiangnan sent a letter to the country, wanting to meet the Emperor." Madame Shirao frowned when she heard it. What is the Emperor of Jiangnan selling in his gourd? Want to see King Gaiyang? Does he want to negotiate with King Gaiyang? According to King Gaiyang's personality, she will not negotiate. King Gaiyang wants to unify the whole world. General Shen said, but the Emperor agreed to meet with the Emperor of Jiangnan. What? Madame Shirao was surprised. What is this child thinking? What is Su Qingni thinking? Of course, to meet the Fifth Blade as soon as possible to confirm whether he is the person she thinks. If so, she decided what to do in the future. A month later, Su Qingni met the Fifth Blade on the Yangtze River. For safety, the subordinates of both sides prevented their emperors from going to the other side's territory, so both sides built large ships. The big ship stopped in the middle of the Yangtze River. Su Qingni looked at the young man who was surrounded by people and smiled beautifully. Chapter 709, The Great Conflict. Su Qingni showed a beautiful smile, which stunned the Fifth Blade at once. He had known from the information that the Emperor of China was an extremely young and beautiful woman, but he had never thought that she was so beautiful. Her appearance was not as good as the many top beauties he had seen, but her demeanor was something that those women could not even flatter. Only such a woman was qualified to stand by his side. The Fifth Blade stretched out a hand to Su Qingni, and Su Qingni put her hand into the Fifth Blade's hand very naturally, and followed the Fifth Blade's strength to walk to the Fifth Blade's side. The subordinates of both parties. What's going on? The two people fell in love with each other? Then the Fifth Blade's subordinates were excited. If Su Qingni married their own emperor, wouldn't their own emperor take China without bloodshed? Su Qingni's subordinates were not very happy. Although the two countries became one country peacefully, wouldn't they become the dowry party, which was inferior to those people in the Central Plains? Su Qingni's eyes turned, seeing the reactions of the crowd, and understood their thoughts, and laughed softly. "What are you laughing at?" asked the fifth blade. His voice was very pleasant. Su Qingni felt that if the fifth blade sang a lullaby, she would definitely fall asleep quickly. Su Qingni smiled and said, "I want to use the country as a betrothal gift to invite you to marry into my family. What do you think?" The fifth blade also smiled and said, "That's right, I have the same idea. King Gang, I want to use the country as a betrothal gift to marry you as my wife. What do you think?" Su Qingni smiled sweetly. "I think it would be better if you marry into my family." The fifth blade, "But I want you to enter my fifth family more." Su Qingni smiled. The fifth blade smiled. The men of both sides. Suddenly it felt like a big battle was about to break out. Su Qingni's men, "Your Majesty is mighty. Come on. We won't be the dowry, let them be the dowry." The fifth blade's men, "Come on, Your Majesty, you must marry the Emperor of China into your family." Su Qingni said, "Why don't we make a bet? If I lose, I will take Huaxia as my dowry, marry into the fifth family, and become your queen. On the contrary, if I win, you will take Zhangyin to marry into my Huaxia family and become my imperial husband." "Okay." The fifth blade agreed. "I look forward to the day when you become my queen." Su Qingni smiled brightly. "I also look forward to the day when you become my imperial husband." Everyone. Su Qingni and the fifth blade did not use war to make a bet. The casualties of the war were too high, and neither of them wanted to commit more murders. In the past, the purpose of dealing with the five kingdoms was just to stop killing with killing, so that the world would be peaceful as soon as possible. Without war, the people would finally be able to live a stable life. The two people made a bet from the theory of governing the country to the people's livelihood and taxation, and won 2 out of 3 games. Although the fifth blade was talented and capable, he suffered from the fact that he had no memory and was crushed by Su Qingni. In the end, the fifth blade was willing to accept the loss of the bet, took Zhangyin as his dowry, married into Huaxia, and became Su Qingni's imperial husband. After the two got married, they governed the country together, regardless of their status or size. After a period of adjustment, the old ministers of China and the Central Plains also became harmonious and worked together for the development of the country. China entered an era of rapid development. Madame Shirao was originally very worried that her daughter would not be able to get married, and she was thinking about whether to help her daughter find a few male lovers. Unexpectedly, her daughter found her other half, and he was the emperor of another country, who was much better than the candidate she had. Madame Shirao was a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law, and the more she looked, the more satisfied she was, and she was very active in planning the wedding for Su Qingni and the fifth blade. The king of Qin, who was working in the fields, heard that Su Qingni had married the emperor of the Central Plains and directly unified the world. The corners of his mouth twitched, and he bent down and started working again. Su Qingni and the fifth blade lived together in this world for 50 years, and governed this world prosperously. The fifth blade left this world the day after his 80th birthday. Su Qingni didn't want to stay in the world without him, so she followed that person and left this world. Fortunately, the two had passed the throne to the right person 20 years ago. This world will not be disturbed by their death. Su Qingni returned to the netherworld and saw Madame Shirao standing in front of Mengpo and asking Mengpo for Mengpo soup. Su Qingni gave some merit to Madame Shirao so that she could be born in a good life in the next life, meet a husband she truly loves, and live a happy life. This world did not find the true spirit fragments of the ancestor witch, but Su Qingni and Empress Pingxin were not disappointed. In the last world, she gained a lot. It's no big deal if she didn't gain anything in this world. Recalling the bits and pieces with the fifth blade, Su Qingni couldn't help but feel sweet in her heart. "What are you laughing at?" Empress Pingxin's voice came into Su Qingni's ears. "It looks like a kitten who successfully stole fish to eat." "Nothing." Su Qingni quickly restrained her smile. She didn't want anyone to know that she met and even married Dong Huangtai in the small world. One is shyness, and the other is that she thinks this is a secret that belongs to her alone. As long as she keeps it, she doesn't want to share it with others. Empress Pingxin looked at Su Qingni suspiciously for a long while. Su Qingni had a stern face, showing no emotion at all. Empress Pingxin retracted her gaze. "Well, girls have their own exclusive secrets, and as an elder, I won't ask any more questions. Go back and rest." Empress Pingxin waved her hand to let Su Qingni leave. "This child has been through a great journey, and the first priority is to have a good rest." Su Qingni responded, and her figure disappeared in an instant. The next moment, Su Qingni had returned to her own palace in the Lich realm. Su Qingni took the time to sit down and practice. This time the practice only took a decade. After Su Qingni woke up, Qi Yu came to find her. Qi Yu asked Su Qingni for her opinion on some difficult matters of the Wu clan during this period. Su Qingni gave her opinions one by one. The two discussed the affairs of the Wu clan again. After Qi Yu solved the affairs of the tribe, he felt relieved and said, "The demon tribe seems to have made a big move. However, they kept it secret. Not only can we not find out, but even the ordinary people of the demon tribe don't know. Only a few people in the highest level of the demon tribe know the purpose of their move this time." Su Qingni said, "I don't think it will cause harm to the witch world, nor will it be dangerous to the witch tribe. Since it is a confidential matter in the human family, we don't need to find out more." Qi Yu agreed and stood up to say goodbye. Su Qingni waited for Qi Yu to leave, and sat in the hall for a long time before she started her next time traveling. Before she opened her eyes, Su Qingni felt a sharp pain. Chapter 710 Concubine 1. Is this giving birth? There was no time to accept the memory of the original body. Su Qingni quickly adjusted her breathing and cooperated with a midwife to give birth to the baby in her belly. If she didn't give birth, she was afraid that the baby would be suffocated. Fortunately, the original body's foundation was still good. Although she died of dystocia, Su Qingni immediately did two things at once after taking over this body. While giving birth, she quickly practiced health-preserving skills to restore strength and regulate her body. Finally, half an hour later, the child was born. Because she had been holding it in the belly for too long, her body was a little weak and had some signs of premature death. Su Qingni glanced at the little child and closed her eyes to rest. As long as the child was alive, she had a way to get rid of the premature death of the child and make it healthy. Now the child is fine for the time being. Let her rest for a while and accept the memory of the original body. She was exhausted to death after giving birth just after crossing over. In her sleep, Su Qingni did not forget to practice. This made the body that should have been bleeding heavily stop bleeding after only a little bleeding, which made the people waiting outside the door feel relieved. Su Qingni accepted the memory of the original body in her dream. She really couldn't like the original body, so she didn't think about giving the original body some merit as compensation for using its body. How can I say the original owner is a naive love brain? For the man she loves, she abandoned her family and ran to find her lover. What's the result? He has already married a wife. The original owner believes that she is true love, and would rather be a concubine to the man and stay in the man's house. The original owner was born in a wealthy family, and her parents were open-minded. They sent the original body to school. The original body met Zhang Xiu, the person she liked, in school. The two people fell in love with each other, and the young people were impulsive, so they had a substantial relationship. However, Zhang Xiu was called back to his hometown by his family, and then he never came back. The original owner waited for a long time, and her belly gradually grew bigger, and then she found out that she was pregnant. The original owner's relatives asked her to abort the child, but the original owner was unwilling, thinking that the child was the fruit of her and Zhang Xiu's love, and she had to protect the child. She was extremely stubborn and would rather be kicked out of the house by her parents than hurt the baby in her belly. The original owner knew where Zhang Xiu's hometown was, so she went there. As a result, when she arrived at Zhang Xiu's hometown, she found out that Zhang Xiu was called back home to get married. Zhang Xiu's mother was seriously ill and wanted to see her son marry a daughter-in-law who was like her. Zhang Xiu was filial. Although he already had a girl he liked, he still married a woman named Jiang Shuai according to his parents' orders. Jiang Shuai was a young lady from her landlord's family. She was educated in traditional ethics since she was a child. She was a very virtuous woman with a soft exterior and a strong interior. And Jiang Shuai was very beautiful, more beautiful than the original owner. As a man, with a beautiful woman in front of him, or his own wedding night, what else could he endure? Zhang Xiu and Jiang Shuai became a real couple. In the subsequent contacts, the good qualities shown by Jiang Shuai touched Zhang Xiu again, making him really care about this wife and fall in love with this wife. After the original body came, she was greatly stimulated by Zhang Xiu's marriage, but in the end she decided to stay with Zhang Xiu because of her love brain and became his concubine. She always believed that Zhang Xiu loved her, and he married Jiang Shuai because of the arranged marriage at home, and he did not love Jiang Shuai. She was very proud of this. Zhang Zi was very good and gentle to the original body because of his guilt towards the original body. The original body was more confident that Zhang Zi loved herself. However, Su Qingni saw the relationship between Zhang Ziyu and Jiang Shuai from the original body's memory. The two people could understand each other's meaning with just one look, and the depth of tacit understanding was simply incomparable to ordinary couples. This shows the affection between the two. Zhang Zi likes the original body, but he loves Jiang Shuai. Poor original body, this love brain. After a good sleep, Su Qingni's body recovered a lot after waking up, and a trace of internal energy accumulated in her body. The maid Bangsha walked into the door with chicken soup without salt, and asked Su Qingni to drink the chicken soup quickly. The chicken soup without salt didn't taste very good. Su Qingni took the bowl and drank it all in one breath. Putting down the bowl, Su Qingni asked Bangsha to bring the baby over. The baby was sleeping in a cradle not far from the bed. He was already hungry. He smelled the mother's scent on Su Qingni and arched towards Su Qingni's chest. Su Qingni's body was much better, and her semen was secreted, just right for feeding the baby. The sleeping baby instinctively started his first meal after birth. The baby was a boy with a small nose and small eyes. He was so ugly and cute that Su Qingni couldn't help but smile like an old mother. When the baby finished drinking the milk and fell asleep again, Su Qingni was reluctant to let go of the baby and still held him in her arms. It was very quiet outside the door. Su Qingni couldn't help but be surprised that there was no one else except Bangsha, a servant who took care of her. Jiang Shuai always did things properly. Why didn't she arrange a wet nurse or someone to take care of the baby? Su Qingni asked Bangsha, what happened in the mansion? Where is the eldest young lady? Bangsha answered worriedly, the eldest young lady fainted. Did she faint from watching me give birth? Su Qingni asked. Jiang Shuai was so virtuous. She accompanied her husband's other women throughout the birth of their children. She was even more virtuous than the wives of the princes in the backyard of the Qin dynasty. No, no. Bangsha shrank her neck and was a little afraid to continue. Su Qingni raised her eyebrows and said, besides the eldest young lady fainting, what else happened in the mansion? Well, the madam passed away. Su Qingni raised her eyebrows again. The madam of the Zhang family had recovered from her illness and was in much better health because her son married a daughter-in-law that she liked. This sudden death, if not an accident, must have been caused by some kind of stimulation. Tell me, why did the madam die? Did something happen to the eldest young master? Bangsha knew that she could not hide it anymore, and hurriedly said, second and, don't be too excited. You just gave birth to a child, and your body needs to be recuperated. You have to think about the young master. Don't talk nonsense, tell me quickly. Su Qingni shouted. Bangsha then told everything that happened after she fell asleep. It turned out that Zhang Zi went to the dock to pick up goods on behalf of the Zhang family's business today. For some reason, he had a conflict with someone and then fell into the river. The servants went into the water to salvage him as soon as possible, but they didn't find him. Zhang Ziyu is in danger. Madame Zhang was happy because she had a grandson, but suddenly received the news that her son fell into the water and disappeared. Under the stimulation of great joy and sorrow, her weak body could not bear it, and she died. Jiang Shuai also fainted due to the stimulation, and blood was oozing from her lower body. Chapter 711 Concubine 2. Su Qingni hugged the child tightly. Poor child, he might be labeled as a father killer. If the Zhang family doesn't like him, she will take the child away. How is the eldest young lady now? Bangsha replied, I don't know. I have been guarding you all the time. I don't know what happened in the eldest lady's yard. Su Qingni got up from the bed and told Bangsha to put on her coat, put the baby in the cradle, and cover the baby with a quilt. The baby was full and could sleep peacefully for a long time. She could take the opportunity to see Jiang Shuai. According to Bangsha's description, Jiang Shuai might have had a miscarriage. She has now cultivated a little internal strength to keep fit, and see if she can help Jiang Shuai and let her keep the child. Even if her husband is gone, a woman can have a support in her heart with a child. Jiang Shuai is really kind and is really good to the original owner. Su Qingni is willing to help Jiang Shuai. When she walked out of her yard, it was noisy outside and a mess. The eldest son of the mansion is missing, his wife has passed away, the old master has fallen down, and the eldest mistress is in a coma. The only people who are in charge are the second son, the illegitimate son of the old master, and his biological mother. However, This concubine is a peasant girl and has no experience as a housekeeper, so the Zhang mansion is in a mess. Su Qingni just frowned and looked at the servants who were busy but not busy at all, and didn't say much. She was not interested in the affairs of the Zhang family, and would not stand up to make suggestions, lest the concubine think that she was going to compete with her for the right to be the housekeeper. Su Qingni was supported by Bangsha and walked into Jiang Shui's yard. Jiang Shui's yard was even more chaotic. When the people inside saw Su Qingni coming in, no one was worried that Su Qingni had just given birth and went out. What if she caught a cold? They only had Jiang Shui in their hearts. Jiang Shui is now more worrying than Su Qingni. The doctor has come to see Jiang Shui and confirmed that Jiang Shui has signs of miscarriage, but he is afraid that she can't keep the baby in her belly. It turned out that Jiang Shui had been pregnant for 2 months, but she and the people around her had not discovered it yet. The original owner had a difficult delivery, and Jiang Shui had been staying in the original owner's yard worried about her. After more than a day, Jiang Shui was very tired and her body could not bear it. Then she received the news that Zhang Ziyu fell into the water and disappeared. The shock was too great, and her body could no longer bear it, so she showed signs of miscarriage. Although the doctor prescribed pregnancy-preserving medicine for Jiang Shui, he could only do his best and leave the rest to fate. He did not think that the child could be saved. In Jiang Shui's current state, it is difficult to save the baby in her belly. Su Qingni pushed open the door and entered Jiang Shui's room. Unlike the deserted place there were many people in Jiang Shui's room, all of whom came to care about Jiang Shui. Jiang Shui is very popular in the Zhang family. Not only do the masters like her, but the servants also respect her very much as the eldest lady. Compared with Jiang Shui, the original owner was like heaven and earth. The original owner had a noble character. She thought she was born in a good family and had been to school, and was a high-class person. Even Jiang Shui didn't look down on her, so how could she look down on the servants? Therefore, even if she gave birth to a son, no servant came to curry favor with her. Make way, make way. Auntie is here to see the eldest young lady, Bangsha said, asking everyone to make room for Su Qingni. When everyone saw Su Qingni, they quickly stepped back and made way for Su Qingni to reach the bed. They all murmured in dissatisfaction in their hearts. Why did she come out to join in the fun after giving birth? Did she come to show off in front of the eldest young lady? She gave birth to a son, but the eldest young lady was going to have a miscarriage. Doesn't that mean her child is the only flesh and blood of the eldest young master? The eldest young master's room is inherited by her son? Oh, why is this woman like this? She actually came to provoke the eldest young lady at this time. Should they drive her out? Forget it. The eldest young lady had a difficult birth, and her son was the only one left in the first house. Would she and her son be the head of the first house in the future? If they offended this woman, wouldn't they be driven out of the Zhang family by her? A group of people were hesitant and didn't dare to stop Su Qingni from approaching Jiang Shui. Some people were even considering whether to just go to Su Qingni and her son. Sister. Su Qingni came to the bed and sat down, put her right hand on Jiang Shui's wrist, and checked Jiang Shui's pulse. Sure enough, the child was going to die. Su Qingni quickly injected the little internal force she had cultivated into Jiang Shui's body, guided the internal energy to Jiang Shui's lower abdomen, and used the internal force to nourish the fetus in the abdomen to reduce the signs of miscarriage. However, in one day, the internal force cultivated was very small, which only temporarily delayed the signs of miscarriage, but this was enough. The effect of the medicine for preserving the fetus prescribed by the doctor was still good. After drinking the medicine, the child in Jiang Shui's belly could be completely saved. Jiang Shui was in a coma and showed no signs of awakening. After Su Qingni input her internal force, she left Jiang Shui's yard. Back in her own yard, she quickly lay back on the bed to practice again. Because of the confinement, Su Qingni didn't have to worry about the affairs of the Zhang mansion. 2 days later, the master of the Zhang family came out of his grief and began to deal with the affairs of the Zhang family in an orderly manner, handling the funeral of Mrs. Zhang and asking people to find the eldest son. Unfortunately, Zhang Ziyu has not been found. Until Su Qingni was out of confinement, Zhang Ziyu was still not found. Everyone thought that Zhang Ziyu drowned in the river and became a water ghost in the river, and could never be found again. The master of the Zhang family suddenly aged 10 years and had to accept the fact that his eldest son had died. He began to train his second son and handed over the family business to his second son. What made him happy was that his two daughters-in-law, one gave birth to a grandson for him, and the other had a child in her belly, so the eldest son would not be extinct. Although the eldest grandson was carrying the reputation of killing his father, he was the blood of the eldest son anyway, and he would not ignore this grandson. Because of his attitude, the servants of the Zhang family, who had begun to neglect Su Qingni and her son because Jiang Shuai's belly was saved, quickly restrained their attitude. Although they were not as flattering to Su Qingni and her son as to Jiang Shuai, they would never dare to disrespect them. The baby's wet nurse was also matched by the housekeeper sent by the master of the Zhang family. This was an honest peasant woman, and Su Qingni easily controlled her. Su Qingni gave Bangsha a large sum of dowry money on the pretext that Bangsha was old, sent her away, and found herself a maid named Xiaodong who was dull but obedient, and a woman named Li who did rough work. There were only 3 servants in Su Qingni's yard, but these 3 were loyal to her. Compared with other yards where there were many servants but they had different thoughts and sometimes would cheat their masters, it was much better. Chapter 712 Concubine 3. After the confinement, Su Qingni went to see Jiang Shuai. The baby in Jiang Shuai's belly was barely saved. In order to protect the fetus, Jiang Shuai could only lie in bed and take good care of it. When Su Qingni saw Jiang Shuai, although she was very sad, her complexion was much better. As the saying goes, a mother is strong. Although she missed her husband, for the sake of the child in her belly, she forced herself to take good care of herself and change her mood during this period. It seems to be relatively successful. Su Qingni admires such a woman, but she will never be a woman like Jiang Shuai. Such a woman lives too tired. When she is at home, she lives for her family. When she gets married, she lives for her husband, and when she has children, she lives for her children. She has gained a reputation for being virtuous, but has she really lived her life for herself? Su Qingni brought the baby with her. The full-month baby is white, tender and cute, and Jiang Shuai, who is full of maternal love, doesn't want to let go of the baby. It was the girl next to her who was worried that she was tired and persuaded Jiang Shuai to return the child to Su Qingni. The baby is so cute. Have you named him? Jiang Shuai asked Su Qingni. I named him Zixi. His full name was given by his father, Zhang Xiangchen. Su Qingni replied. Zixi, a very cute name. Jiang Shuai smiled. When my child is born, I will name him Dongdong. Su Qingni smiled and said, okay. Jiang Shuai touched her still flat belly inside. Both children are pitiful. They have never seen their father. Su Qingni hurriedly comforted Jiang Shuai, not wanting her to be sad, so as not to affect the baby in her belly. They will see their father. Su Qingni said. Jiang Shuai grabbed Su Qingni's hand and asked anxiously, Sister, what do you mean by this? Do you also think that Ziyu is not dead? Su Qingni smiled slightly. Sister believes that Ziyu is not dead, and sister naturally thinks so too. Ziyu just disappeared, and even his body has not been found. How could he be dead? Maybe Ziyu was rescued by someone, but he just forgot the way home for a while. When he remembers the way home, he will go home. She smelled a strong smell of dog blood. Su Qingni felt that Zhang Ziyu is not dead, and he must have returned to the Zhang family. At that time, he might bring back a third concubine or something like that. Then he and Jiang Shuai reunited, and the third concubine would definitely be unhappy. At that time, the Zhang family would be unstable. I would never get involved. When Zhang Ziyu comes back, I will divorce him. Divorce is very easy nowadays. You don't need to write a divorce letter or a divorce letter. You can just divorce and sever the relationship in the newspaper. Sister, do you really think so? Jiang Shuai asked. Su Qingni nodded. Don't you have confidence in Ziyu? Jiang Shuai stared into Su Qingni's eyes. Those eyes were very calm and deep, which made her feel at ease. Jiang Shuai nodded. I believe Ziyu is still alive, and I believe he will definitely come home. Su Qingni patted Jiang Shuai's arm. Then you must take good care of your body, give birth to your and Ziyu's child, and raise him well. Ziyu will be happy to come back. Yes. Jiang Shuai said firmly. In the next few months, Jiang Shuai took care of the baby with peace of mind. In the 5th month of pregnancy, Jiang Shuai was finally able to walk. She often came to Su Qingni's yard to visit Zixi. Seeing that Jiang Shuai and Su Qingni had such a harmonious relationship, Mr. Zhang felt comforted and thought about marrying a wife like Jiang Shuai for his second son. Even if he couldn't find someone like Jiang Shuai, Su Qingni was not bad. Only when the sisters-in-law are in harmony can a man do better outside. The second young master Zhang Zedong is 2 years younger than Zhang Ziyu and has reached the age of marriage. However, because Zhang Ziyu had not married before, Master Zhang had not thought about choosing a wife for his second son. Later, Zhang Ziyu got married, but because of Mrs. Zhang's health problems and the entanglement between Zhang Ziyu, Zhang Shuai and the original body, Master Zhang was not in the mood to think about the marriage of his second son. Now that the eldest son is gone, the second son will be the head of the Zhang family in the future, so Master Zhang is anxious to find a wife for his second son. The two eldest daughters-in-law are widows and cannot represent the Zhang family in lady diplomacy. The second concubine is a side room and has little knowledge. She can only find a girl with a good background and ability as a daughter-in-law for the second son. The most important thing is that the girl has a good character. The second concubine was also anxious about her son's marriage. She picked out a lot of candidates, but they were all rejected by Master Zhang. The second concubine was so angry that the daughter-in-law she chose for her son was of noble birth, beautiful, and a college student. What was her master dissatisfied with? Mr. Zhang was naturally dissatisfied. The girl worshipped foreigners and spoke a foreign language from time to time when talking to others. She felt that she was very great, looked down on people who could not speak foreign languages, and looked down on these old antiques. How could Mr. Zhang like such a girl and let such a girl be his daughter-in-law? Not only Mr. Zhang, but also the wealthy families in the city did not like this girl. Why did the girl's mother tell the second concubine about her children's marriage? It was because other wealthy families did not want to marry this girl, and the second concubine was the best to deceive because of her knowledge. Mr. Zhang rejected the candidate given by the second concubine and chose a youngest daughter of a family with a good family for his second son. Although this girl did not go to college, she went to girls' high school and her personality was somewhat similar to Zhang Shuai. Seeing that the family background of the person chosen by Mr. Zhang was not bad, the second concubine happily accepted the marriage and happily prepared for her son's wedding. However, this marriage brought danger to the Zhang family. It turned out that the girl had another lover, a so-called young marshal. The girl didn't want to fulfill the marriage given by her parents, so she ran away from home to find her lover. The marshal heard that someone coveted his woman, although this marshal had many women, and was very angry, so he took action against the Zhang family. The Zhang family's business was blocked by the people sent by the marshal, and suffered various setbacks. Others knew that the Zhang family had offended the people with guns and would never be able to turn over in this life, so they followed suit to deal with the Zhang family, wanting to get a piece of the pie. In the end, all of the Zhang family's business was taken away, and the Zhang family lost nearly 90% of their wealth. Mr. Zhang couldn't stand the blow and had a stroke, so the Zhang family had to leave the city and move to the ancestral house in the countryside. Although the ancestral house in the countryside is a bit shabby, it is quite large, and it can still accommodate a family with a few servants. Su Qingni thought about it and did not take the opportunity to leave the Zhang family, but went to the countryside with others. Chapter 713 Concubine 4. The Zhang family is now in decline. If Su Qingni leaves, she will appear as cold and indifferent as Li Wan in the Red Mansion. Moreover, the Zhang family is now old and young. The head of the family has suffered a stroke. The concubine is an ignorant woman, so she just needs to stay at home to take care of Mr. Zhang. Zhang Zedong was hit hard and felt that he had implicated the family. He was a little dazed when doing things, and he could not be expected to make decisions on major matters. Zhang Shuai, the eldest young lady, is about to give birth, and she must not be too tired. Therefore, all the affairs of the Zhang family fell on Su Qingni. Su Qingni did not back down and took charge of the family temporarily. There was no other way. Zhang Shuai could not be allowed to work with a big belly. Almost all the servants of the Zhang family dispersed, leaving only the housekeeper who had followed Mr. Zhang all his life and his family of 6, housekeeper Uncle Zhang, his wife Aunt Zhang, son Zhang Quan, daughter-in-law Zhang Hua, grandson Zhang Chen and granddaughter Ya. In addition to their family, there were 3 servants who followed them. One was Zayadong, one was Li Pozi, and the other was Yun Mami beside Zhang Shuai. These 3 were all people who had lost their families and were unwilling to leave. They were willing to follow the Zhang family to the countryside to suffer. Su Qingni arranged their own work for these people, with clear division of labor. Therefore, although the number of servants was reduced, they would not be tired. Zhang Shuai gave birth prematurely just after settling down in the countryside. There were too many things that happened during this period. Jiang Shuai's body could no longer support the pregnancy and raising a child due to sadness and physical fatigue. Jiang Shuai gave birth prematurely at just 7 months. After a night of struggle, this was when Su Qingni used her internal force to help Jiang Shuai protect her body. Jiang Shuai gave birth to a girl. Because of premature birth, the girl was very weak, even worse than Zixi when she was born. Zixi has now been raised by Su Qingni into a healthy little fat boy, and the little girl's life will not have any problems. Sooner or later, she will follow in Zixi's footsteps. The nickname Jiang Shuai gave to the little girl was Dongdong. Her full name was Zhang Xiaoxi. She trusted her daughter to Su Qingni's care. She saw with her own eyes that Zixi became healthy and strong, and she felt that Su Qingni was very good at taking care of children. Taking care of children is very exhausting, so Su Qingni simply threw the housekeeping work back to Jiang Shuai, and then took care of the 2 children wholeheartedly. Jiang Shuai is a very capable and tenacious woman. She is very intelligent in business. She had never been exposed to business before, but now that she has been exposed to it, it seems like she has opened a cheat and can understand it at once. She used the remaining money of the Zhang family to open a shop in the town in the countryside, and her business is booming. Mr. Zhang was very satisfied with the performance of his eldest daughter-in-law, and instructed his second son to help his eldest daughter-in-law. Mr. Zhang is going to hand over the entire Zhang family to his eldest daughter-in-law. Although the second concubine was unhappy, she did not dare to complain in front of Mr. Zhang. She just secretly found Su Qingni and provoked the relationship between Su Qingni and Jiang Shuai, hoping that Su Qingni and Jiang Shuai would fight, so that she and her son could benefit. Su Qingni was laughing at this. Today's life is quite quiet and peaceful. She does not need to make money to support herself and her children. She lives a much easier life than the marshal's wife in her previous life. It is all thanks to Jiang Shuai, the conscientious wife. She only went to fight with Jiang Shuai when she was full. Su Qingni did not take the challenge, and the second concubine had no choice but to keep nagging in her son's ear, asking her son to fight for power with Jiang Shuai. However, her son was conquered by Jiang Shuai, the eldest sister-in-law. He respected Jiang Shuai very much and was willing to be her deputy. He did not want to seize power with Jiang Shuai. The second concubine was depressed and could only shrink back to the identity of Mr. Zhang with a full heart of depression, serving Mr. Zhang wholeheartedly, hoping that the old man would leave more property for herself and her son after 100 years. Mr. Zhang laughed. He had seen the second concubines jumping these days, and he didn't stop her because he wanted to see the reactions of his son and 2 daughters-in-law. None of the 3 let him down. When he was 100 years old, he would give them a suitable inheritance. The Zhang family was supported by the eldest daughter-in-law, but she only gave birth to a daughter, not a son, so she could only give her 1 share of the inheritance, and she could give it all to her granddaughter as a dowry. She had a good relationship with the concubine of the eldest son, and the son born by the concubine was nominally the son of the eldest daughter-in-law. In the future, she would provide for the eldest daughter-in-law in her old age, so she would give her grandson 50% of the inheritance. I believe that with the eldest daughter-in-law, the legitimate mother, guiding her, this inheritance will definitely be kept, and it will get better and better. The youngest son will be given 40%, after all, he has helped the eldest daughter-in-law a lot. He also contributed to the Zhang family's rise again. Fortunately, he chose a good daughter-in-law for his youngest son. He didn't expect a woman's family background, and he didn't dare to ask for any progressive female students. It's better to find a girl who is suitable for the family and the family. It's a pity that the second concubine has poor vision. The eldest daughter-in-law is busy with business. Why not hand this matter over to the eldest son's concubine? Su Qingni received the order from Master Zhang and blinked. Be a matchmaker for Zhang Zehun? Or not? This kind of thing is too troublesome. What if the person she chooses is not liked by Zhang Zehun? What if she matches a couple with resentment? The requirements given by Master Zhang for the younger daughter-in-law are detailed, but Master Zhang likes such a woman, but it does not mean that his son likes such a woman. Su Qingni wanted to refuse, but Master Zhang would not let her refuse. Su Qingni was depressed and ran to Jiang Shuai to complain. Jiang Shuai thought that Master Zhang's decision was good. Zhang Zehun should really get married. The matter of his fiancée before should not affect Zhang Zehun for the rest of his life. Jiang Shuai trusts Su Qingni's vision. She believes that Su Qingni will definitely be able to find a girl who is suitable to be Zhang Zehun's wife. Su Qingni. She chose dog belt. There was no other way. Su Qingni could only push the stroller and take the two children out of the house, walk around the village, hang out in the town, and inquire about the news of unmarried girls. Finally, Su Qingni provided 5 candidates to Mr. Zhang and Zhang Zhehuan. The information of the 5 candidates was very detailed. Not only the family situation and personalities of the 5 girls, but also their appearance. Su Qingni also provided photos for reference. After studying these materials for a few days, Zhang Zhehuan selected one of the girls and asked Su Qingni and the second concubine to find a matchmaker to go to the girl's house named Hanian to get married. Hanian's father was a teacher. His family had 10 acres of farmland. The economic conditions were not particularly good, only slightly better than those of ordinary people. Although the Zhang family was defeated, they were still the landlord class in the countryside. The Zhang family proposed to Hanian's family, and Hanian's family agreed. Chapter 714 Concubine 5. Su Qingni was lazy and handed over all the wedding preparations for Zhang Zhehuan to the second concubine. The second concubine handled her son's marriage very carefully. Although the wedding was not as grand as Zhang Ziyu and Zhang Shui's, it was also very lively. The night before the wedding, Su Qingni went out to relax and accidentally found Zhang Zhehuan standing in the yard, looking in the direction of Zhang Shui's house. He stood in the yard for a long time and responded to an ancient poem, "The stars are not like last night, for whom do you stand in the wind and dew in the middle of the night?" Su Qingni thought she had discovered a big secret. However, Zhang Shui should not know, and Zhang Zhehuan himself knew the limits and never let others find out. The new Hanian is a woman of orchid heart. She knows how to read and write, and does housework very well. After a few days, the Zhang family sincerely accepted Hanian. At this time, Dongdong had been well taken care of by Su Qingni and got rid of the threat of premature death. Su Qingni handed Dongdong to Hanian to take care of, so that she could feel more relaxed. 5 years passed in a blink of an eye. Under the management of Zhang Shui and Zhang Zhehuan, the Zhang family's business was getting better and better and bigger. The general who had targeted the Zhang family was killed by warlords from other forces and could no longer threaten the Zhang family. The Zhang family once again returned to the side of everyone in the city. The Zhang family's house in the city was bought back, but Mr. Zhang was used to the quiet life in the countryside and was unwilling to return to the city. The second concubine could only accompany Mr. Zhang in the countryside. Zhang Shui and Zhang Zhehuan went to live in the city because of business. Hanian brought Dongdong and her 2 sons Nanan and Bibai with Zhang Zhehuan to live in the city. Su Qingni lived in the countryside with Zixi. There was a school in the countryside, but the knowledge taught was not as good as that in the city school. Most of the time, Su Qingni taught her son herself. She asked Zhang Shui to buy a lot of foreign textbooks and science books through her connections, and then taught Zixi every basic knowledge. Of course, the traditional Chinese culture teaching could not be left behind, and then let Zixi choose what she was interested in, and she would teach in depth. Besides teaching cultural courses, Su Qingni taught Zixi to practice martial arts. In this world, other internal skills cannot be practiced, and only health-preserving skills and external skills can be practiced. But this is enough. After Zixi learns martial arts, her life can be guaranteed by 1 point. Now is a chaotic world, it is better to have some extraordinary skills. Zixi likes to practice martial arts very much. He is also a good seedling for martial arts. After practicing with Su Qingni for a month, he beat the whole village and became the child king of the village. On this day, Zixi was nestling beside Su Qingni to show off his achievements, and saw Zhang Shui with a sullen face, holding Dongdong, and walked into the gate. Su Qingni asked in surprise, "Shui, why are you back at this time? Didn't you just go back to the village a few days ago to celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival with Master Zhang? Why are you back again after just a few days? Didn't you say that there was a big business to discuss and you were very busy recently? But what happened?" Su Qingni asked again. Zhang Shui raised her eyes and looked at Su Qingni with a complicated expression. The look in her eyes made Su Qingni feel a little uneasy. Zhang Shui put Dongdong down and sent Dongdong and Zixi out to play. She sat opposite Su Qingni and said in a hoarse voice, "Qingni, Ziyu is back." "Zhang Ziyu is back?" As she expected, he is not dead. Looking at Zhang Shui's reaction. He didn't come back alone? Did he bring other women back with him? Su Qingni asked. If Zhang Ziyu came back alone, Zhang Shui must be very happy. How could she run back to the old house with her daughter like now? How do you know? Jiang Shuai was surprised. Guessed it. Su Qingni said, without saying that she had read many similar novels. She only said, Zhang Ziyu is a passionate man. He fell in love with me when he was with me, but fell in love with you again after marrying you. It's not surprising that he met another woman and fell in love with someone else after leaving home for a few years. Jiang Shuai. She actually felt that Su Qingni was right. Have you always blamed Zhang Ziyu in your heart? Jiang Shuai asked, do you hate me too? Su Qingni shook her head. There is no love for him anymore, so naturally there is no resentment. Zhang Ziyu is just a stranger to me now. It's good that he comes back this time, so I can divorce him. Divorce? Jiang Shuai was shocked. You want to divorce Ziyu? How are you going to live after the divorce? Are you going to leave the Zhang family? What about Zixi? Dad and Ziyu will not let you take Zixi away. Zixi is the eldest grandson of the Zhang family? Are you willing to leave Zixi? Jiang Shuai strongly disapproved of Su Qingni's decision to divorce. She was a traditional woman, and she still believed in being faithful to one man. Jiang Shuai tried hard to persuade Su Qingni, but was interrupted by Su Qingni. I can't bear to leave Zixi, so after the divorce I will stay in the village and continue to take care of and teach Zixi. I will leave when Zixi grows up and you no longer need me as a mother. I think Zhang Ziyu will choose to live with you in the city, so he and I won't have to meet often and it won't be awkward. Jiang Shuai. All her words were blocked by Su Qingni, and she didn't know what to say for a moment. Su Qingni sighed and advised Jiang Shuai, Shuai, you have seen a lot of people and things in these years. You have also met many Westerners and learned about the situation in Western society. In the West, men and women are equal. Men and women can divorce and find lovers. Why can Western women do it, but Eastern women can't? A husband is not a woman's heaven. A woman can live without a husband. Haven't you lived well in the past few years? And lived a wonderful life? Shuai, I am not advising you to divorce Zhang Ziyu. But I really think Zhang Ziyu is not worthy of you. If one day you have no feelings for him, then just separate from him. I believe that you will live a very wonderful life without Zhang Ziyu. Jiang Shuai. Jiang Shuai took these words to heart. However, she would not divorce Zhang Ziyu. She had feelings for Zhang Ziyu. Her love did not diminish because of Zhang Ziyu's disappearance in recent years. On the contrary, it became stronger because she often recalled the sweet time they spent together in her dreams at midnight. Su Qingni also knew that it was a pipe dream to make Jiang Shuai dump Zhang Ziyu with just a few words from her, so she changed the subject and asked, what has Zhang Ziyu been through over the years? Has he told you clearly? What is the origin of his woman? How is he going to deal with that woman? Will he make her his legal wife, or will he turn her from a wife into a concubine? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 715 Concubine 5. After hearing Su Qingni's question, Jiang Shuai's face suddenly turned ugly. That Miss Niu will not be a concubine. Jiang Shuai said bitterly, that Miss Niu is the cousin of the financial secretary. She is of noble birth and it is impossible for her to be a concubine. So, Zhang Ziyu wants you to give up the position of the wife? You will be the concubine. Su Qingni's eyes became sharp. Jiang Shuai said bitterly, Ziyu didn't ask me to do so. But he looked very painful, so you decided to sacrifice yourself and give in? Su Qingni asked. Jiang Shuai. Su Qingni couldn't help but snorted coldly. She really couldn't like Jiang Shuai's attitude. She originally supported Jiang Shuai at the table, but now her appreciation has faded a lot. Jiang Shuai, don't let me look down on you. Qingni. Jiang Shuai shouted, I'm different from you. I have been taught to be a good wife and mother since I was a child. In my concept, my husband is the most important person to me. Moreover, I love Ziyu. For him, I can suffer any grievance. You are simply. There is no hope. It's up to you. Anyway, it's your own choice, and it's your own business to regret it. Su Qingni waved her hand and didn't want to say more to Jiang Shuai. She stood up and went out to look for Zixi and Dongdong who were playing. Zixi is the king of children in the village. He is very familiar with every corner of the village, so he is not afraid that he and Dongdong will get lost. Su Qingni went to several places where Zixi often went to play, and soon found the two children and took them back home. At the Zhang family, a drama of family reunion is being staged. Zhang Ziyu chased Zhang Shuai back to the countryside, and of course his new wife Niangniang also came to the countryside. When you come to the countryside, the first person you want to see is naturally Mr. Zhang. After these years of recuperation, Master Zhang's health has improved a lot. Even though he was too excited and happy to see his eldest son resurrected from the dead, he did not have another stroke. Zhang Ziyu did not have time to find Zhang Shuai, and he stayed by Master Zhang's side, telling him about his experiences over the years. He was washed away by the undercurrent after falling into the river. When he was on the verge of death, he was found and rescued by the boat that the Niu family took. Zhang Ziyu is good-looking, and Niangniang fell in love with him when she saw his appearance. Zhang Ziyu lost his memory because of drowning for too long. The Niu family took in Zhang Ziyu because of Niangniang's insistence, mainly because the clothes Zhang Ziyu wore were made of good material. Even if he lost his memory, Zhang Ziyu's demeanor and speech and behavior were very decent, not like someone from an ordinary family. The Niu family thought that if Zhang Ziyu found his family, he might be able to add some help to the Niu family. Although Zhang Ziyu had no memory of his identity and family, he did not forget the knowledge and abilities he had learned. With the help of the Niu family, Zhang Ziyu entered the government department and was promoted to a high position. Zhang Ziyu recovered his memory a month ago. He spent a month dealing with the things in his hands and immediately went home to visit his father and family. It was at this time that Niangniang learned that Zhang Ziyu not only had a wife but also a concubine, and she was very angry. But she couldn't let go, and she didn't want to become a concubine, and the Niu family would not allow such a thing to happen. Zhang Ziyu had no choice but to let Zhang Shuai suffer. He didn't say this decision in person, but he kept showing embarrassment and let Zhang Shuai give in. His thoughts were hidden from others, but not from the old and cunning Master Zhang and Su Qingni. But Master Zhang couldn't say anything, just let Zhang Ziyu treat Zhang Shuai and her daughter well in the future. Zhang Ziyu nodded repeatedly. Zhang Shuai looked gloomy on the side, while Niangniang had a smug smile on his face, but after seeing Su Qingni and the two children coming in, Niangniang's face drooped. After 4 years of marriage, Niangniang has not given birth to a child, which makes her a little insecure. Now when Niangniang sees another woman giving birth to a child for her husband, she gets upset. When she sees Su Qingni, who is also her husband, she gets even angrier. Zhang Ziyu turned around and saw Su Qingni, with a hint of excitement on his face. Although he now loves Zhang Shuai and Niangniang more, the original body is the first woman he fell in love with after all, and he still has feelings for the original owner. When they met again after a long time, he immediately stood up and walked towards Su Qingni, calling out with emotion, "Qingni." Su Qingni took 2 steps back, pushed Dongdong and Zixi forward, and said to the two children, "This is your dad, call him Dad." The two children often heard their mother and talk about their father. Even though they had never seen their biological father, they still had impressions and feelings for him. After seeing Zhang Ziyu, the two children were very satisfied. The man in front of them was quite similar to the father they imagined. Feeling close to Zhang Ziyu, the two children quickly ran forward, one on each side of Zhang Ziyu's thigh, looking up at Zhang Ziyu, and shouting, "Dad!" When Zhang Ziyu heard the two children calling him Dad, he immediately threw Su Qingni behind his mind, squatted down excitedly, and hugged the two children. These are his children, his blood. Seeing the two children entangled with Zhang Ziyu, Su Qingni walked to Zhang Shuai and asked, "What's wrong?" Zhang Shuai showed Su Qingni a bitter smile and whispered, "Qingni, Miss Ni will be the eldest wife in the future." Su Qingni narrowed her eyes slightly, thinking that it was true. Niangniang came over and said arrogantly, "Are you Su Qingni? I am Niangniang, Ziyu's first wife. You have to respect me in the future. Call me elder sister and listen." Su Qingni glanced at Niangniang indifferently and said, "I will have nothing to do with Zhang Ziyu in the future, and you don't have to act as an elder sister in front of me." After that, she went straight back to her room. Niangniang was choked by Su Qingni's attitude. What does she mean? Zhang Shuai sighed. She didn't expect Su Qingni to be so determined. Even after seeing Zhang Ziyu in person, she didn't change her mind about divorce. She wants to divorce Ziyu. What? Divorce? Niangniang couldn't help but widen his eyes. Su Qingni actually wants to divorce Zhang Ziyu? What is in her head? She doesn't want such a good man? But it's good this way. If Su Qingni divorces Zhang Ziyu, there will be one less woman to compete with her for her husband. Why doesn't Zhang Shuai divorce Zhang Ziyu? Niangniang glanced at Zhang Shuai, and the meaning in her eyes was very obvious. Zhang Shuai turned her eyes away. It was impossible for her to divorce Zhang Ziyu, not in this life. What divorce? Hearing Niangniang's words, Zhang Ziyu, who was strengthening his relationship with his son and daughter, asked with a distracted look. Chapter 716 Concubine 6. Not long after Su Qingni returned to the house, Zhang Ziyu came with his other two wives. It was Zhang Ziyu who heard that Su Qingni was going to divorce him, and he didn't care about getting in touch with his son and daughter. He left the two children to Zhang Laoai to look after, and he hurried to find Su Qingni. Su Qingni was not the original owner, and she had no feelings for Zhang Ziyu at all. No matter how Zhang Ziyu spoke softly to her, Su Qingni insisted on divorce. Zhang Shuai knew Su Qingni's temperament, and did not persuade her, but just sat aside silently. Niangniang was angry at the good words Zhang Ziyu said to Su Qingni, so he said sour words aside, and finally made Zhang Ziyu very angry, and finally agreed to divorce Su Qingni. However, for the sake of Zixi, the child, they discussed not to tell the divorce to the outside world, and only the Zhang family knew about it. Su Qingni still lived in the Zhang family's ancestral house, but had to pay rent to the Zhang family and give the Zhang family living expenses every month. Su Qingni was very persistent about this. Since she was no longer a member of the Zhang family, she could no longer eat and drink for free at the Zhang family. Otherwise, what would it look like? She would stay at the Zhang family until Zixi turned 18. When Zixi turned 18 and became an adult and could take responsibility for her own life, Su Qingni would completely leave the Zhang family. She and Zhang Ziyu also signed an agreement. One agreement was placed in Su Qingni's hands, and one was snatched away by Niangniang and kept. Zhang Ziyu left very angrily after signing his name on the agreement. Zhang Shuai sighed at Su Qingni and hurriedly chased after him. Niangniang walked at the end. Her attitude was much better at this moment. She said to Su Qingni, "You are a good person. If you encounter any problems in the future, you can find me and I can help you." "Thank you." Su Qingni nodded. She didn't hate Niangniang. Even if Niangniang drove Zhang Shuai out of the position of the main wife and became the first wife, it seemed a little overbearing. But Su Qingni felt that she was not wrong. Originally, she, a daughter of a wealthy family, married Zhang Ziyu to be the main wife. As a result, after being married for several years, the original wife suddenly appeared because her husband recovered his memory. Which woman can bear it? This was not Niangniang's fault. It was this tormenting fate and Zhang Ziyu who were wrong. He hooked up with a girl and married her without being sure whether he would get married before the 11th. It was Zhang Ziyu's love that was wrong. In the evening, the Zhang family had a reunion dinner. In order not to arouse the children's suspicion, Su Qingni also attended the reunion dinner. After the meal, Su Qingni took out 10 yuan and gave it to the second concubine, who was now in charge of all the affairs of the ancestral house. The second concubine couldn't understand Su Qingni's approach and nagged at her for a long time, but she was not slow to take the money. 10 yuan is not a small amount. 10 yuan is enough for the Zhang family's living expenses in the countryside for 3 months. And Su Qingni gave her 10 yuan, saying that it was half a year's rent plus food expenses, which was really too much. The second concubine couldn't help but be curious. How could Su Qingni have so much money in her hands? Did she enter the Zhang family alone without any dowry? Where did the money come from? Su Qingni saw the doubt in the second concubine's mind, and to avoid misunderstanding, Su Qingni said, "I pawned the bracelet my mother gave me." The bracelet that Su Qingni's original mother gave to Su Qingni was a good thing, and Su Qingni pawned it for a lot of money. It was just a pawn, and when Su Qingni made money, she redeemed the bracelet and kept it well. When the second concubine saw Su Qingni's bare wrist, she remembered that when the original body entered the Zhang family, she did wear a bracelet that looked very good, and she couldn't help but feel sympathy in her heart. In fact, Su Qingni herself didn't like to wear jewelry. It was troublesome. The second concubine sighed. "Why are you so stubborn, kid? Why did you divorce Ziyu? It's normal for a man to marry several wives. Isn't it good to be a concubine? It's good to have enough food and clothes and a man to rely on. Why can't you let it go? Weren't you the second aunt before? Now it's just one step later. What's the difference between the third aunt and the second concubine?" The second concubine talked for a long time, all of which were her experiences as a concubine, and she blamed Su Qingni for being unreliable. Su Qingni smiled in response. The second concubine's words went in one ear and out the other. She and the second concubine were not the same kind of people, and even the second concubine and Zhang Shuai were not the same kind of people. Just listen to their words, don't take them to heart. Zhang Ziyu stayed in the countryside for a few days and then left. He is a government official now and can't leave his post for too long. When Zhang Ziyu left, he took Zhang Shuai and her daughter with him. He also wanted to take Zixi with him, saying that education in big cities is good and he would train Zixi well. But Zixi himself refused. He didn't want to leave his mother. And he felt that no matter how well the schools in big cities taught, they couldn't be as good as his mother's. Would schools in big cities teach him martial arts? Before leaving, Zhang Shuai handed over all the Zhang family's business to Zhang Zehun. Over the years, Zhang Zehun helped Zhang Shuai and knew the Zhang family's business very well. The handover process was very simple and smooth. After a few days, Zhang Shuai took the train with Zhang Ziyu and left. This was the first time Zhang Shuai took a train in her life. Half a month later, Su Qingni received a letter from Zhang Shuai. With Zhang Shuai's character of reporting good news but not bad news, the letter said all good things. But Su Qingni still saw Zhang Shuai's confusion and depression between the lines. Zhang Shuai has been doing business outside for many years with confidence and freedom. Now she is locked up in the back house. Can she get used to it? What's more, the territory she is in now is the territory of the Niu family. It is easy for the Niu family to bully her, a woman without support. What's the use of Zhang Ziyu's love? No matter how much Zhang Ziyu likes her, he now relies on the power of the Niu family, and it is impossible for him to go against the Niu family for her. Su Qingni didn't say much when she replied. She only wrote some of her experiences in the countryside. She would never write words of persuasion in the letter. Even if she wrote it in the letter, Zhang Shuai would not do what she wrote in the letter. The days passed in the correspondence between Su Qingni and Zhang Shuai, and another 5 years passed in a blink of an eye. In these 5 years, Zhang Shuai gave birth to a son for Zhang Ziyu, but Niu Yuqiu still had no children. This became a knot in Niu Yuqiu's heart. She went to the doctor for a physical examination, but there was nothing wrong with her. She just said that the fate had not yet arrived. Because of this incident, Niu Yuqiu was in a very bad mood, and his temper became more and more irritable, which Zhang Ziyu could not stand. Zhang Shuai's kindness and gentleness made Zhang Ziyu willing to spend more time with Zhang Shuai, which caused Niu Yuqiu to become extremely jealous and his temper became even worse. Chapter 717 Concubine 7. In the end, Niu Yuqiu divorced Zhang Ziyu. The arrogant eldest lady finally abandoned Zhang Ziyu and went abroad with a foreigner who was considerate of her and didn't care whether she could have children. Without Niu Yuqiu, the Niu family no longer supported Zhang Ziyu, and Zhang Ziyu's political enemies attacked him. Without a backer, Zhang Ziyu was naturally defeated. From high up to falling to the bottom, it only took a moment. Just when Zhang Ziyu was decadent, Zhang Shuai encouraged and supported him by his side and never left him. With the support of his lover and relatives, Zhang Ziyu regrouped and started again. After withdrawing from politics, he returned to his old business, doing business. With Zhang Shuai, a business talent, helping him, Zhang Ziyu's business gradually took off. The two supported each other and their feelings became deeper. Zhang Ziyu was passionate by nature, but he was moved by Zhang Shuai's perseverance and shared the joys and sorrows with her. He vowed in his heart that he would only guard Zhang Shuai as a woman for the rest of his life and would not marry other women. Su Qingni felt Zhang Shuai's heartfelt joy from her letter. Now her husband belongs to her alone, how can she not be happy? Zixi Zhang Xiangjun grew up, and Su Qingni later sent him to school. After studying in high school for a year, Zhang Xiangjun applied for a foreign university, and Su Qingni will accompany Zhang Xiangjun to study abroad. She will return to China after the child is settled. Then it will be time for her to go to various places to find the extremely yin place. Zhang Xiangjun already knew about the divorce of Su Qingni and Zhang Ziyu. Although a little sad, the child accepted it with understanding. In Zhang Xiangjun's heart, his father was actually not worthy of his mother, but he still married other women. It was normal for his mother to be unable to bear to divorce him. When choosing a school, Su Qingni gave Zhang Xiangjun a lot of advice. Zhang Xiangjun really chose a school in the native land of the lighthouse country, according to Su Qingni's advice. The native land of the lighthouse country will not become a battlefield. Going there, Zhang Xiangjun is safer than going to other places. After accompanying Zhang Xiangjun abroad for half a year, Su Qingni returned to China and began to travel around. During her travels, she would help those in need and secretly push the country to restore peace as soon as possible. Her help was quite effective. Although she only contributed a little, the change caused by the butterfly's wings was huge. When Su Qingni found the extremely yin place and buried the netherstone, the country had already won victory and peace. The Zhang family moved to Port City in the south and settled there. Zhang Xiangjun returned to China and used what he learned to serve the country. With her mother's protection, Zhang Xiangjun lived a safe and smooth life. 50 years later, Su Qingni sent Zhang Shuai and Zhang Ziyu away. Zhang Ziyu lay on the bed and said I'm sorry to Su Qingni. He was most sorry for two women in his life. One was Su Qingni and the other was Niangniang. Su Qingni accepted this apology on behalf of the original owner and returned it to the original owner when she returned to the underworld. As for Niangniang, Su Qingni felt that she didn't care about Zhang Ziyu's apology at all. Niangniang's second husband loved her very much. In the second year of their marriage, they gave birth to a daughter and a son in the third year. The family was very happy. Niangniang was busy taking care of her husband and daughter and son, and she had completely forgotten about her ex-husband Zhang Ziyu. Zhang Shuai died half a month after Zhang Ziyu passed away. At that time, she smiled very happily and said to Su Qingni, I am very glad that I did not listen to your advice and divorce Ziyu. Su Qingni nodded, well, your efforts have been rewarded. She felt that Zhang Shuai's life was like a TV series about the struggle of traditional women. The heroine paid a lot for the hero, and the hero experienced several women and finally chose to grow old with the heroine. This routine seems to be a TV drama routine in the 1990s on Earth. Zhang Shuai smiled and said, I am happier than you. Su Qingni, yes. Zhang Shuai closed her eyes contentedly when she heard this answer, and never opened them again. Su Qingni left this world a month later, and Zhang Xiangjun and his descendants sent Su Qingni off for the last time. Zhang Xiangjun did not want the Zhang family's property. Even though Zhang Zi wrote a will before his death and gave Zhang Xiangjun a share of the property, Zhang Xiangjun turned around and donated the property to charity. Zhang Xiangjun didn't care about the Zhang family's property. He himself earned no less wealth than the Zhang family. The father-son relationship between Zhang Xiangjun and Zhang Zi was very shallow. Since they were young, the number of times they had met could be counted on one hand. In Zhang Xiangjun's heart, he had long lost his fatherly feelings for Zhang Ziyu, and naturally would not accept Zhang Ziyu's inheritance. He was not familiar with the Zhang family at all. Su Qingni valued this child who was taught by her own hand. She left a small part of merit to Zhang Xiangjun to ensure that Zhang Xiangjun would be able to live a rich and happy life in his 3 reincarnations. Back in the underworld, Su Qingni found the original body and transferred Zhang Ziyu's apology to the original body. As for the original body's reaction after receiving the apology, Su Qingni didn't care. She didn't like the original body, not at all. This time, the traversal did not find the fragments of the ancestor witch's true spirit. Su Qingni and Pingxin Niangniang were not frustrated. After saying hello, Su Qingni returned to her own territory to continue practicing. The only regret is that there was no Donghuang Tai in the last world. I wonder if I will meet her in the next world? This time, the consumption was small. In just 30 years, Su Qingni was fully recovered and began to travel again. I am the dividing line of travel. This time, Su Qingni found a world that was a circle larger than the other worlds she traveled through, and her eyes lit up immediately. There should be many fragments of the true spirit of the ancestors in this world, right? Su Qingni rushed towards that world. In such a world, the way of heaven is more perfect, and it is difficult for outsiders to escape and enter. Su Qingni fought with injuries and finally sent part of her soul into this world. It is indeed a very advanced world. This time, the soul that can enter has reached 1/3 of the entire soul, and the power that can be used is also much more. Even if the body of the natives who entered this world has not yet practiced, she can call on part of the power. It's really great. Su Qingni moved her hands and feet, stood up from the bed, walked into the kitchen and started to make breakfast. There is not much rice at home, less than a handful. Su Qingni put all the rice into the pot, added a lot of water, and cooked a pot of very thin rice porridge. There was no food to go with the meal. This family was very poor, with only me and my mother. My mother was ill and had to take medicine all the time, so this family relied on me to make money from embroidery. My embroidery skills were just so-so, and the money I earned from selling them was only enough to pay for my mother's medicine, And there was nothing more. Chapter 718 My husband is a monster. Fortunately, the original owner had two good friends. Their families were better off than the original owner. They often helped the original owner, so that the original owner did not have to work so hard and did not often go hungry. One of these two good friends was called Ding Ruomi and the other was called Zhu Xiandang. Zhu Xiandang was a boy, the same age as the original owner and Ding Ruomi. The three families were very close. The three of them played together and grew up together since childhood, and they had a very good relationship. Later, the original owner's father died unexpectedly at an early age, and the family's property was taken back by the clan. The mother and daughter were driven out of the house and had to find a broken house to live in, so they were far away from the other two people's homes. From the original owner's memory, I know that Ding Ruomi is a very beautiful, sunny and righteous little beauty. The whole person is full of vitality, giving people warmth like a little sun. The original owner likes this friend very much, but also jealous of this friend. Although the original owner looks good, when she is with Ding Ruomi, she always becomes Ding Ruomi's foil. Others can only see Ding Ruomi and will not notice the original owner. Just like their common friend Zhu Xiandang. Zhu Xiandang is completely Ding Ruomi's follower, with only Ding Ruomi in his eyes. Zhu Xiandang was just showing some concern for the original owner's friend. If the original owner's affairs prevented him from following Ding Ruomi, Zhu Xiandang would definitely blame the original owner. In this case, how could the original owner not be jealous of Ding Ruomi? The original owner's heart was also very conflicted. On the one hand, he liked this friend, but on the other hand, he was jealous of this friend, and he had to accept the help from his friend. Su Qingni cooked the porridge and began to boil medicine for the original owner's mother. She took the herbs and found that many of them were common herbs, which could be picked if she was interested. It was because both mother and daughter did not know the herbs that they spent money to buy them. Su Qingni decided that she would go to pick the medicine for Su's mother herself in the future, so that the family could save a lot of money. After the medicine was boiled, Su Qingni poured a bowl and brought it into Su's mother's room. Su's mother had woken up a long time ago, and had half raised her body and sat on the bed, with a worried look on her face. Seeing the bowl in Su Qingni's hand, Su's mother sighed and said to Su Qingni, "Qingni, this is the condition of my illness. Don't waste money on buying medicine for me." Su Qingni hummed and said, "No more buying medicine in the future." Su's mother was surprised. Why did her daughter agree not to buy medicine for her so easily this time? Her daughter is so filial, she will definitely not ignore her. Is there no money left in the family to buy medicine? Su's mother was dejected. She had pawned all her dowry, and even the gold bracelet that she originally wanted to leave for her daughter as a dowry was exchanged by her daughter to buy medicine. Now the family is penniless. What should her daughter do when she gets married? Which wealthy family would marry a poor girl? Then Su Qingni said, "Mom, I will go to the mountain to collect herbs tomorrow, and we won't have to spend money to buy medicine in the future." "Collect herbs? Qingni, do you know medicinal herbs?" Su's mother asked. Su Qingni said, "I asked the shop assistant about the complete appearance of the herbs you drank, as well as their growing environment, collection points and preparation pharmacies. According to the instructions of that young man, I can collect herbs and prepare them myself." "Really?" Su's mother asked in surprise. This is a skill. With such a skill, not only can she save money on buying medicine, but her daughter also has an extra skill to make money, and she will have more support when she talks to her in-laws in the future. Su Qingni hummed and said, "The medicine I bought yesterday can last for 3 days. I will go to collect herbs tomorrow." "Okay." Su's mother reached out and touched Su Qingni's hair, sighing with guilt, "Thank you for your hard work." After serving Su's mother the medicine and breakfast, Su Qingni returned to her room, took out the embroidery and started embroidering. Her speed and level were excellent. It would take several days to complete the embroidery. In her hands, Su Qingni completed the embroidery in just 2 hours. The quality of the finished embroidery has risen by several grades compared to before. After helping Su's mother drink the medicine again, Su Qingni took the embroidery out. She was going to the shop that sold fabrics and embroidery to exchange the embroidery for money. When the shop owner saw the finished product, he was surprised and praised. "Your embroidery skills have improved." The boss was a conscientious person. Seeing that the quality of the embroidery Su Qingni handed in this time was better than before, he raised the price and gave her more rewards. Su Qingni thanked the boss, left the shop and went to the grain and oil store to buy food. After buying 10 kilograms of food, The copper coins in her hand were almost spent. With the remaining copper coins, she bought 3 steamed buns and was about to go home. Qingni. Su Qingni heard a voice calling her. Before she turned around, someone came forward and grabbed her hand. Su Qingni didn't need to look closely. She could tell who the person was by listening to the familiar voice and feeling the familiar touch in her hand. Ruomai. Su Qingni called out, and then called the boy behind the woman, Xiaodang. Wait until the boy responded with a hum. Qingni, are you going to buy food? Do you have enough money? Do you have money to buy medicine? Ding Ruomai asked with concern when she saw the bag in Su Qingni's hand. Enough, don't worry. Su Qingni said softly. The girl in front of her was kind-hearted, just like a little son. Su Qingni liked her aura very much. Su Qingni smiled and said, I learned how to identify and collect medicinal herbs from the clerk in the medicine shop. From now on, I can go to the mountain to collect my mother's medicinal herbs. Really? That can save a lot of money, and you don't have to work so hard. Ding Ruomai was happy for her good friend and for herself. You will have extra time to play with us. Su Qingni smiled and nodded, saying, I'm going to the mountain to collect herbs tomorrow. Will you come with me? Yes, of course. Ding Ruomai nodded vigorously. Xiaodang and I will take bows and arrows to the mountain to hunt. Zhu Xiaodang's eyes lit up when he heard this. He really likes hunting. Among the 3 friends, Ding Ruomai and Zhu Xiaodang had learned martial arts and often went into the mountains to hunt. Only the original owner was a weak woman who had never learned martial arts and had poor physical strength. She was too tired to walk before she even got to the mountain. After one incident, Zhu Xiaodang firmly opposed Su Qingni to go into the mountains to hunt with him. At this moment, Zhu Xiaodang questioned Su Qingni, you went into the mountains to collect herbs? With your physical strength? You won't need me to carry you up the mountain in the end, will you? No need for you. Su Qingni snorted and explained to Ding Ruomai, some time ago, a Taoist priest came to my door and asked for a bowl of water to drink. As a thank you, the Taoist priest taught me a set of breathing exercises. After practicing for this period of time, my physical strength has increased a lot, and I won't hold you back. That Taoist priest must be a master. Ding Ruomai was happy for her friend. Chapter 719 My husband is a demon. Early the next morning, Ding Ruomai brought her follower Zhu Xiaodang to find Su Qingni. The 2 wore short clothes, carried bows and arrows on their backs, and had long swords on their waists. They looked rich and noble. Su Qingni also changed into clothes that were convenient for movement. Following the 2 of them, the style was completely out of place. However, the 3 of them were already used to this style of painting. They didn't feel anything at all and left Su Qingni's home with laughter. The mountain forest was some distance away from the city. The 3 of them found a carriage, paid the fare, and were taken to the foot of the mountain. As they were about to go up the mountain, Zhu Xiaodang glanced at Su Qingni. I hope what you said is true and you won't hold us back anymore. Xiaodang. Ding Ruomai shouted in a reproachful tone. Su Qingni ignored this naughty child. The relationship between this child and the original body was all due to Ding Ruomai. Without Ding Ruomai, the 2 of them would almost be disgusted with each other. In fact, in Su Qingni's opinion, Zhu Xiaodang should be a child with keen observation. He discovered that the original body was jealous of Ding Ruomai, so he treated the original body like this. The 3 of them went into the mountain. Ding Ruomai and Zhu Xiaodang had both practiced martial arts and were very strong. Su Qingni had used her own strength to transform her current body, so her strength was naturally no problem. The 3 of them walked for more than half an hour, and none of them complained of being tired. This surprised Zhu Xiaodang, and his eyes moved around Su Qingni several times. Su Qingni looked up and grinned at him. I have practiced a Taoist breathing method, and my physical strength is incomparable to before. Zhu Xiaodang nodded, you are lucky. Ding Ruomai was happy for her bestie. Qingni, have you practiced external kung fu? If not, I will teach you. Then the 3 of us can go out on the streets together to do justice. Su Qingni said, okay. As for external kung fu, she didn't need Ding Ruomai to teach her, and she would just find an excuse to deal with it when the time came. Su Qingni walked while looking for herbs, whether Su's mother would use them or not, and even if she didn't use them, she could sell them to the medicine shop for money. Ding Ruomai enthusiastically expressed her willingness to help. Su Qingni took out 1 or 2 herbs she had picked, let the 2 know what the herbs looked like, and taught them the precautions for picking herbs. Ding Ruomei looked impetuous on the surface, but she was also a careful person. She and Zhu Xiaodang knew how to pick herbs after listening to Su Qingni's explanation once, and the herbs they picked next were barely qualified. During the picking process, they hunted several pheasants and rabbits. No large animals were hunted, and the three did not go too far into the mountains. There are wolves in the mountains, which pose a great threat to people. The harvest of the day was not bad, and the three went down the mountain with satisfaction. Ding Ruomei and Zhu Xiaodang each took a rabbit and a pheasant, took them home for their families to taste their results, and left the remaining rabbits and pheasants to Su Qingni. Su Qingni was not hypocritical, and accepted the pheasants and rabbits, but left 2 people for dinner. Su Qingni stewed a pot of soup with the mushrooms and rabbits picked in the mountains, and made the pheasants into beggar chickens using the method of beggar chicken. There is no way to eat beggar's chicken in this world. Ding Ruomei and Zhu Xiaodang ate beggar's chicken for the first time and found it delicious. They asked Su Qingni for the recipe of beggar's chicken, saying that they would ask the servants to make pheasants into beggar's chicken after returning home so that their family could also taste this delicacy. The 2 of them were very satisfied with this meal. Their stomachs were bulging with food, and they kept praising Su Qingni's improved cooking skills, which were much better than before. Su Qingni smiled. The original owner's cooking skills were actually not bad, but there was nothing to eat at home, and there were few seasonings. No matter how good her cooking skills were, she couldn't make delicious meals. The 2 left together, and Su Qingni served Su's mother to sleep. While Su's mother was sleeping, she used her spiritual energy to help Su's mother comb her body and drive away the sickness in Su's mother's body. After doing all this, Su Qingni walked out of the room, stood in the yard, and looked towards the direction of the mountains. When she entered the mountain today, she felt an unusual breath deep in the forest. It's a demonic aura. There are monsters in the deep forest. No wonder this world can accommodate so much of her power. It turns out that this world itself is not an ordinary world. Fortunately, the monsters in the mountains are not evil monsters and will not harm humans. The other party lives in seclusion in the mountains to practice, and does not interfere with humans, so she does not have to think about exorcising demons. Retracting her sight, Su Qingni returned to her room and began to meditate instead of practicing. The next day, Su's mother woke up from her sleep and found that her body was much lighter. She was very happy that her illness was getting better. Su's mother did not think too much and just thought it was the effect of taking medicine. In a good mood, Su's mother's illness got better faster. In just half a month, Su's mother was able to get out of bed and do some things within her ability. Some housework was taken over by Su's mother, and Su Qingni had more time to collect herbs and embroider. With these 2 skills, she earned more money. The family no longer had to buy food because of lack of money, and they also saved some silver money. Su Qingni returned the saved money to Ding Ruomei and Zhu Xiaodang. As a good girlfriend and good friend, Ding Ruomei knew Su Qingni's thoughts and knew that Su Qingni was noble by nature and would not owe others money or even favors unless she had to, so she accepted the money. After the money was paid back, Su's mother became more friendly to Ding Ruomei and Zhu Xiaodang, more like an elder treating a younger generation. Unlike before, Su's mother treated them more like a guest. Half a year passed in a blink of an eye. Su Qingni's body was much stronger because of her uninterrupted practice, and could accommodate and use more of Su Qingni's power. Su Qingni also found an excuse, saying that she had learned martial arts and did not let Ding Ruomei teach her. Ding Ruomei and Zhu Xiaodang often pulled Su Qingni to practice martial arts. Su Qingni suppressed her strength again and again, and every time she showed that she was evenly matched with him. Ding Ruomei lamented that Su Qingni was a martial arts genius, but it was a pity that she was delayed. If she had practiced martial arts earlier, she would definitely have become a master of masters. Su Qingni discovered that Zhu Xiaodang was a martial arts prodigy. His body was born with smooth meridians. Not to mention martial arts, he would also achieve something in Taoism. Su Qingni then forged a Taoist practice secret book, saying that it was left by the Taoist who asked for water. She couldn't understand it herself, so she asked 2 good friends to study it together. Ding Ruomei was smart and read a lot of books. She also knew some Taoist knowledge. She understood most of the practice secret book, but unfortunately, Ding Ruomei couldn't practice. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't even get started. Maybe I have no destiny with Taoism. Ding Ruomei was also free and easy. After a month of hard work, Ding Ruomei simply gave up and turned to teach Zhu Xiaodang. Chapter 720 My husband is a demon I. Su Qingni stared at Ding Ruomei's face again and again, which made Ding Ruomei confused. She touched her cheek and asked, Qingni, is there something on my face? Nothing. Su Qingni smiled, I just saw that you are getting more and more beautiful. Ding Ruomei was very happy to be praised, you are getting more and more beautiful. Su Qingni retracted her gaze. She had not carefully looked at Ding Ruomei's face before. Now she found that she had the face of a phoenix. Ding Ruomei was destined to become a member of the royal family. Royal family members cannot practice Taoism. Zhu Xiaodang practiced Taoism very smoothly. He had outstanding qualifications and had a smart friend like Ding Ruomei to help him explain the parts of the secret book that he didn't understand. Zhu Xiaodang made rapid progress and his strength improved a lot compared to before. This is just the practice of martial arts. When he practices magic, I wonder what this child will become. Can he defeat the monsters in the depths of the mountains? With extra money at home, Su's mother thought about going back to her parents' home. Su's mother's parents' home is quite far away, in another city thousands of miles away. Su's mother's father was the magistrate in the city today. When his daughter reached the age, she could only find a local family to marry. Later, Su's mother's father retired and returned to his hometown. Su's mother did not have her natal family to rely on, so she was bullied by the Su family and driven out of the Su family after Su's father died. After Su's mother was driven out of the Su family, she did not have much money, and the journey back to her natal family was too far, so Su's mother did not take her daughter back to her natal family. Now that there is extra money in the family and Su's mother's illness has recovered, she is thinking about taking her daughter back to her natal family. Su's mother's father's 60th birthday is coming soon, and Su's mother really wants to celebrate his birthday in person. Su's mother told her daughter about her thoughts. She was worried that her daughter would be reluctant to leave the city and her friends. Su Qingni had nothing to be reluctant to leave. She was not the original owner, and she was not very close to Ding Ruomei and Zhu Xiaodang. Su Qingni began to pack up her gifts. Some things that could not be taken away were either given away or sold. She found a caravan, gave silver to the leader of the caravan, and asked to set off with the caravan. Seeing that there were only mother and daughter and that they posed no threat to the caravan, the leader of the caravan agreed. Mother Su was very happy when she heard this. The caravan had bodyguards, and if they followed the caravan, they would be safe from robbers on the road. Why didn't she think of taking her daughter back to her parents' home with the caravan? On the day of departure, Ding Ruomei and Zhu Xiaodang came to see Su Qingni off. Ding Ruomei cried so hard that her eyes turned red. It was rare that Zhu Xiaodang didn't argue with Su Qingni. Both of them were reluctant to let her go. Su Qingni comforted them and said that there would be a chance to meet again in the future. Ding Ruomei didn't believe it. She thought that Su Qingni had gone to another place and would get married there and would not come back. How could there be a chance to meet again? Zhu Xiaodang, on the other hand, had just gotten a glimpse of Taoism and felt something in his heart. He felt that what Su Qingni said was true. Zhu Xiaodang comforted Ding Ruomei. When Ding Ruomei heard that the two friends were so sure, her sadness was alleviated. She imagined that there might be a chance to meet again in the future. The three friends talked for a while, and the caravan set off. The three of them reluctantly parted. Su Qingni got on the carriage and waved her hand. Ding Ruomei and Zhu Xiaodang also waved their hands, jumping up from time to time so that the friends who were leaving could see them. Su Qingni sighed in her heart. How many good friends like this can a person meet in his life? The original owner met one, but didn't know how to cherish it. If she hadn't come, if it was still the original owner, who knows if the three of them would have turned against each other in the end? After walking for more than 2 months, Su Qingni and Su's mother finally arrived at the city where Grandpa Su was. Along the way, the two mother and daughter spent most of their time in the carriage preparing birthday gifts for Grandpa Su. The two mother and daughter didn't have much money, so there was no need to mention spending money without birthday gifts. Su Qingni suggested embroidering a work for Grandpa Su. The work is double-sided embroidery. One side is a birthday star with a kind smile, and the other side is a large birthday character composed of 100 small birthday characters in different fonts. Since Su Qingni's embroidery skills are higher than Su's mother's, most of this work was embroidered by Su Qingni. She was afraid to go home, and when she stood in front of the gate of Su's grandfather's house, Su's mother didn't dare to knock on the door. Su's grandfather's family was a wealthy family in the local area, and there was a gatekeeper guarding the door. Seeing the mother and daughter, he felt strange, so he stepped forward and asked, "Madam, what do you want? Are you here to see my old man?" Su's mother had been married for nearly 20 years, and many of Su's grandfather's servants didn't know her as a married aunt. Su's mother's mouth moved, but she couldn't answer the gatekeeper's question. Su Qingni supported Su's mother, who was trembling slightly, and answered the gatekeeper's question. "My mother is the aunt of the Zheng family. This time, my mother brought me back to celebrate my grandfather's birthday." The gatekeeper opened his eyes wide when he heard this, but he also knew that the Zheng family did have an aunt who had been married for nearly 20 years, but because she married too far away, she hadn't returned to her parents' home for a long time, and there was almost no news. Unexpectedly, she returned to her parents' home suddenly. The doorman didn't think that someone would pretend to be his aunt. After all, the old man was still alive. How could he not recognize his own daughter? The doorman let the two people in through the gate and asked them to sit inside first. He immediately went in to report. Not long after the doorman went in, a chaotic sound of footsteps came from the inner courtyard. Then a group of people came out of the inner courtyard. Two middle-aged men shouted loudly, "Sister, sister! Big brother! Second brother!" When Su's mother saw the two middle-aged men, tears flowed down her face. She stood up and ran towards the two men. The two men also saw Su's mother and ran over immediately. The three siblings held hands together. "Big brother, second brother, I miss you so much." "Sister, we miss you too." "Sister, are you having a hard time? Why do you look older than me and big brother? Did Su Xiaoyu treat you badly? Do you want big brother and second brother to help you teach him a lesson?" Mother Su's tears flowed down. "No, my husband was very good to me. He passed away." As she spoke, Mother Su remembered what happened to her and her daughter after Father Su passed away, and she couldn't help crying. Two middle-aged women stepped forward and said soothingly, "Don't cry, sister. You are back home now. Your family will take care of you and won't let you suffer any more grievances." Another said, "Don't cry first, sister. Father is still waiting for you. It will be uncomfortable for father to see you crying like this. He is old and his emotions are too intense. It's not good for his health." Hearing this, Mother Su quickly wiped away her tears and called the two middle-aged women, "Sister-in-law, second sister-in-law." She also called Su Qingni to her side and asked her to greet the elders. Chapter 721 My husband is a demon. Su Qingni's maternal grandfather's surname was Zheng. Old Master Zheng was 60 years old at the time and had 3 children, 2 sons and 1 daughter. The eldest son, Master Zheng, was 42 years old and was a prefect not far from his hometown. This time he specially asked for leave to go home to celebrate his father's birthday. The second son was 39 years old. He did not become an official, but opened a college in his hometown and became the principal. The college was very famous in the local area and taught several Jinchi and Juren, so many scholars wanted to study in this college. Master Zenger had some reputation in the local area. The first daughter was naturally Su's mother. Su's mother was only 35 years old, but she had a hard time after her husband passed away. She looked very old, older than her 2 brothers, not to mention her 2 well-maintained sisters-in-law. Her appearance made the old man and her 2 brothers feel distressed, and even the 2 sisters-in-law felt some pity. Zheng Dalaoyi also had 2 sons and 1 daughter, but 1 daughter was a concubine. Zheng Dalaoyi only married 1 wife, no concubines, but his children were better than his brother, with 2 sons and 2 daughters, all of whom were legitimate. Su Qingni got to know these cousins. The Zheng family had good family education. Although these 3 generations had their own little thoughts, their personalities were generally good. Su Qingni could chat with them, but she was not as comfortable as when she was with Ding Ruomai and Zhu Xiaodang. In this world today, there are not many daughters of wealthy families who can play freely outside like Ding Ruomai. Old Master Zheng was very satisfied with the gifts given by his daughter and granddaughter. After listening to his daughter's experiences over the years and her future plans, he wanted to keep his daughter and granddaughter at home. Su Qingni quickly and secretly urged Su's mother to refuse. The Zheng family had strict family education. If she lived in the Zheng family, it would be inconvenient to go out on the future, and it would be inconvenient to do many things. Su's mother also took into account the thoughts of her sisters-in-law. After all, she was a married daughter, and if she lived back in her parents' home, her sisters-in-law would definitely be unhappy. It was not comfortable to live under someone else's roof. It was better to listen to her daughter and buy a small yard, so that she could give the yard to her daughter to live in as a dowry in the future. Su's mother resolutely refused. Old Master Zheng knew that her daughter was worried about her daughter-in-law, so he did not stubbornly let her stay at home. He sent his capable people to help her daughter look for a house, and secretly subsidized her a lot of money from the house purchase. Su Qingni and Su's mother knew it well, and they were very filial to old Master Zheng. Su's mother made comfortable and close-fitting clothes for the old man, and Su Qingni sorted out several health-preserving medicinal diet recipes suitable for the old man to eat and gave them to the people around the old man, so that the people around him often made them for the old man. The medicinal diet recipe tasted very good, without much medicinal taste, and the old man could eat it. After eating it so often, his body became much stronger. The courtyard where Su Qingni and her mother lived was not in the city, but next to the Second Master's Academy. There was no need to worry about safety issues, as Second Master Zheng was taking care of them. Although it was outside the city, it was not far from the city. It took less than 10 minutes to get into the city by carriage, and it took no more than half an hour to walk. The best thing was that it was located at the foot of the mountain, and you could go into the mountain when you went out, which was convenient for Su Qingni to go up the mountain to collect herbs for money. There were also monsters in the mountains here. Monsters lived in the deep mountains, and they would not come out easily, and they were very obedient to the rules. I think this is a rule unique to this world. Su Qingni thought that she had no intersection with the monsters in this world for the time being. After all, she was still an ordinary person. When Su's mother was still alive, Su Qingni would always be an ordinary person. Unexpectedly, she encountered a fight between monsters once she entered the mountain. She should be thankful that she was the one who encountered the fight. If it was an ordinary person, she would be affected by the aftermath of the fight between the monsters, and her life would definitely be in danger. The monsters in this world are all very powerful, at least better than the monsters in the world where Su Qingni once traveled to, where there was a father who was easy to find peach blossoms. The whole mountain was about to be flattened by the two fighting monsters, with flying sand and rocks, and the mountains collapsed and cracked. Su Qingni immediately set up a barrier to trap the fighting area in the barrier, so that the attacks of the two monsters would not spread to other places. The two monsters who were fighting did not notice that they were surrounded by the barrier. The strength of the two little monsters hiding on the side watching the battle was too low, and they did not even notice the existence of such a thing as a barrier. Su Qingni stood on the top of a big tree, put a layer of protection on the tree, and looked at the four monsters from a distance. The ones fighting were a man and a woman. With Su Qingni's current eyes, she could easily see their true forms. The man's true form was a black goshawk, and the woman's true form was a green python. The two little monsters nesting on the side were an oriole and a sparrow. Su Qingni focused her eyes on the man, and she felt familiar with him. The two monsters fought fiercely, almost desperately. In the end, the man was more skilled and beat the green snake to the ground, vomiting blood and unable to get up. The oriole and the sparrow cheered, rushed out of their hiding place, ran to the man, and cheered happily, "Brother Mo is great. Brother Mo is great." The man smiled and asked the two, "Are you okay? Were you hurt by the green snake?" "No, no." The two shook their heads violently, with a little guilty look in their eyes, but the man didn't see it. He has always taken care of these younger generations of the same clan as children, but he didn't expect that these children also have their own little thoughts, and will do wrong things and get into trouble. Su Qingni saw that little guilty feeling. She was not very happy because the two little monsters were close to the man, and now she saw it made her dislike the two little monsters even more. Su Qingni heard the conversation between the three people and learned that it was the green snake that wanted to eat the two little demons. The man fought with the green snake to save his own people. The man believed what the two little demons said, but Su Qingni felt that the two little demons were not telling the truth. The two must have been deceiving, otherwise why would they feel guilty? The man left with the two little demons, and Su Qingni quickly removed the barrier. The man paused slightly, and he seemed to feel the fluctuation of the disappearance of the barrier. However, the man concentrated on investigating again, but he could not find anything. "Brother Mo, what's wrong with you? Go." The two little demons walking in front turned around and called the man. The man responded and shook his head, thinking that he was too sensitive, so he quickened his pace and caught up with the two little demons in front. When the three figures disappeared, Su Qingni sighed faintly. When the man was investigating, she subconsciously concealed her breath completely so that the man could not find her. Now she regretted it a little. Why hide? It's no big deal for him to find her. And she could also take the opportunity to get to know him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 722 My husband is a demon. Su Qingni walked out of her hiding place and walked towards the big black python. The black python was so badly injured that it could no longer maintain its human form and turned into its original form. Its original form was not small. Its entire body was as thick as 2 large water tanks, not to mention its length. It fell to the ground like a small mountain. Su Qingni walked over, took out a pill she made and threw it into the mouth of the big python. The pill worked well. Not long after, the black python on the ground began to shrink its body and then transformed into a beautiful woman in black. The woman bowed to Su Qingni gratefully. Thank you for the medicine. The girl in front of him looked like an ordinary mortal girl, but the black python He Chao felt that the girl in front of him was not simple. If she was simple, how could she give a pill and let herself escape from the brink of death? Moreover, when He Chao looked at the girl, he felt a palpitation. This was brought to her by her extraordinary sixth sense. This sixth sense has helped her escape from danger many times. He Chao believes in her sixth sense very much. Therefore, the woman in front of him was definitely not an ordinary girl, and he had to be respectful to her. It was just a matter of convenience. Su Qingni asked her own question, what's the matter between you and those 2 little demons? I see that you have no bad karma, and you are not a demon who will kill at will, so why would you have trouble with those 2 little demons? When He Chao heard this question, his eyes suddenly turned red. Those 2 are thieves. They stole the zoo fruit that I have guarded for more than 200 years. It turned out that He Chao discovered a zoo fruit tree more than 200 years ago. This zoo fruit tree is a 1,000-year-old zoo fruit. It bears fruit once every 1,000 years, and each time it bears 3 zoo fruits. 1 zoo fruit can improve the power of 500 years. He Chao was very happy after discovering the zoo fruit tree, and he kept guarding the zoo fruit tree, careful not to let other demons find it. However, when the zoo fruit was about to enter the ripening period, and the zoo fruit would be fully ripe in 2 days, he did not expect that 2 little birds discovered the zoo fruit tree. They stole 3 zoo fruits while He Chao was immersed in cultivation. All 3 were stolen, and none was left for He Chao. If they had left one for He Zhou would not have chased them so desperately. After all, the red fruit is a spiritual object of heaven and earth. A person or a demon can only enjoy one in a lifetime. Eating the second one is useless and just a waste. However, the 2 little demons were very greedy and stole all 3 red fruits, leaving none for He Zhou. Moreover, the red fruit was not fully ripe yet. It was a waste to pick it like this. It would be good if the medicinal power of the red fruit could be half. He Zhou was about to catch the 2 little demons and snatch the red fruit from them, but suddenly a goshawk appeared, protected the 2 little demons, and fought with He Zhou. The 2 little demons complained first and reversed right and wrong, saying that He Zhou was a bad demon who wanted to eat people and wanted to eat them. The goshawk's strength was not as good as Su Qingni, and it could not see whether a person or a demon had the evil power to kill people. Compared with a hostile race such as the big black python that regards birds as one of its food, the goshawk trusts its own kind more. So, the goshawk didn't even give He Chao a chance to explain, and started fighting with him. He was stronger than He Chao, and He Chao was almost beaten to death by the goshawk. If Su Qingni hadn't saved her, she would have lost hundreds of years of cultivation even if she didn't die. He Chao said 3 times, gritting his teeth, full of hatred. Do you know that goshawk? Do you know his name and origin? Su Qingni asked He Chao. As a fairy from the same forest, he should know some information about the eagle, right? He Chao answered honestly, I don't know him, but I still know some of his name and related information. Tell me. Su Qingni said. He Chao didn't know why Su Qingni cared so much about the goshawk. Did she think the goshawk was so majestic and wanted to catch it as a pet? That would be great. If the goshawk became a pet of a human, would he still have the face to act superior and look down on other monsters? Humph, when that day comes, she will definitely run to the goshawk and laugh at him for 3 days and 3 nights. With this in mind, He Chao told Su Qingni the details of the goshawk. That eagle is the most powerful monster in this forest. Its prototype is a goshawk named Mojuan. Many monsters in this forest are attached to him. Su Qingni was satisfied and sighed again. The leader of the entire monster clan has fallen to the leader of the monsters in a small area. This is a big gap. Su Qingni was satisfied, so she gave He Chao 3 pills, which were the practice of the younger generation of the Wu clan. Its medicinal effect can improve the power of cultivation, but the effect is not as strong as the 1,000-year-old red fruit. One pill can only improve the cultivation for 100 years. He Chao was surprised to hold the pill. Although it only improves the cultivation for 100 years, it is also very remarkable. She took 3 pills and could improve her cultivation for 300 years at once. It will be more than eating the unripe 1,000-year-old red fruit. Haha, I didn't expect it to be a blessing in disguise this time. She thought her cultivation level would be knocked down, but unexpectedly, she was saved and her cultivation level increased. She didn't want the 1,000-year-old Zhu fruit, so she gave the 3 unripe inferior ones to Mojuan. Humph, even if they ate the Zhu fruit, their cultivation level would not increase as much as hers. But she still remembered this grudge. She couldn't do anything about the goshawk, but the 2 little demons. As long as she got a chance, she would definitely take revenge. Although she didn't care about the Zhu fruit anymore, how could she let them go so easily after stealing her things? Exclamation mark. He Chao knelt down and kowtowed to Su Qingni. She kowtowed sincerely. If it weren't for her natural love for mountains and freedom, she would have wanted to recommend herself as the pet of this mysterious and powerful human and follow this adult. The adult casually took out a good elixir that allowed demons to improve their cultivation level, and he must have a lot of good things in his hands. If she followed this adult, she would definitely get more benefits in the future. He Chao was moved. But she finally chose the forest and freedom she loved most. She didn't like humans, and she hated the rules and regulations of human society even more. She felt that she would not live well in human society. He Chao thanked Su Qingni and left. Su Qingni admired the snake demon very much. She knew what she wanted most, was firm in her heart, and was not tempted by interests. This snake demon's cultivation would be smoother than other demons. Maybe one day, this snake demon could cultivate to become an immortal. Su Qingni gave the snake demon a blessing in her heart and turned to leave the forest. Chapter 723 My husband is a demon 6. Su Qingni was not in a hurry to get to know Mojuan. Mojuan was a demon with a long life, and the most important thing for her now was to take care of Su's mother on behalf of her original body, to provide for her in her old age and to see her off to the end of her life. It was better not to get involved too much with demons. When Su's mother died, she would have plenty of time to hang out in the demon world. Su Qingni thought so, but she didn't expect that she would meet Mojuan again in just 2 months. She saw the dark clouds rolling over Mojuan's head and knew that Mojuan was going to pass the tribulation. However, looking at Mojuan's unprepared look, it must be that the tribulation came too suddenly, and he had no idea that the tribulation would come. It seemed that Mojuan had eaten the 1,000-year-old red fruit. After Mojuan left with the 2 little demons that day, the 2 little demons were very happy to give Mojuan a red fruit. The fruit looked very ugly, because it was picked before it was fully ripe, the fruit had not grown full, and the shape was a bit ugly. The other 2 fruits were full in shape, but the color was not as deep as this fruit, pink, and looked very beautiful. The 2 little demons kept the pink and pretty fruits for themselves and gave the ugly fruits to Mojuan. However, they didn't know that the ugly fruits contained the most medicinal power. The medicinal power contained in the 2 pretty fruits was not as good as the medicinal power of the ugly fruits. Mojuan didn't recognize that the fruit was the 1,000-year-old red fruit, and ate it casually. Then, he had problems. Mojuan had practiced for thousands of years, and he was only 1 step away from becoming a terrestrial immortal. But this last step was not so easy to pass. According to Mojuan's estimation, he still needed 300 years of accumulation to pass this step. As a result, he ate an ugly fruit and suddenly improved his cultivation by 300 years, and took that step. Mojuan didn't care about anything else, let alone asking the 2 little demons what they gave him to eat. He immediately sat cross-legged and practiced, taking the cultivation provided by the red fruit as his own. This practice lasted for 49 days. Then, when he converted all the medicinal power of the red fruit into his own cultivation, he naturally took that step and became a terrestrial immortal. Then, the earthly immortal tribulation came. I thought I still had 300 years before the heavenly tribulation, and I could slowly prepare for the tribulation. I never thought that the heavenly tribulation would come so suddenly. Mojwan had no protective gear or magic weapon to use for the tribulation. He was in a panic and had no choice but to rely on himself to resist the heavenly tribulation. When Su Qingni saw Mojwan, he had already resisted 9 heavenly thunders. His body had been struck by thunder and there was not a single piece of good flesh left. His whole body was burnt black. Fortunately, his aura was not weak, and he did not suffer too much internal injury, so he could still resist 9 more heavenly tribulations. However, there were a total of 39 and 27 heavenly thunders in the earthly immortal tribulation. Mojwan could only resist 18. He had no way to resist the remaining 9, so he could only fail to survive the tribulation and be killed by the heavenly thunder. Su Qingni thought that it was fortunate that she encountered it, and she quickly took out a lightning rod from her storage bag. Su Qingni thought that she might go to the world of cultivation, or a world like the heaven that always liked to use thunder to strike people. In those worlds, it was impossible for her to use her powerful strength to disperse the heavenly thunder, so she had to find a way to avoid the heavenly thunder. Therefore, Su Qingni made a lot of lightning rods by herself. The quality and effect of these lightning rods are much better than those made by ordinary people in modern society. The effect of attracting lightning and absorbing lightning force is 100 times that of ordinary lightning rods. Su Qingni quickly inserted the lightning rod into the ground beside Mojwan. Mojwan fell to the ground and couldn't get up, but his mind was clear. He clearly saw a human woman insert a strange metal object next to him in the gap where the thunder fell, and then quickly retreated. His eyes followed the figure of the woman. He was sure that he didn't know this girl. Why did this woman give him a very familiar feeling? It was like a figure that he wanted to pursue in his dream at midnight. However, before he could think about it any further, another thunder fell. Mojwan quickly concentrated his mind and used the remaining cultivation in his body to resist this thunder. However, he was surprised to find that this thunder did not hide him, but deviated in direction and was led to that strange metal thing. It was unknown what the metal thing was, but it was not damaged at all after being struck by lightning. It also quickly led the lightning into the earth, and the earth neutralized the power of the lightning. He lay on the ground, and only felt the slight lightning force from the ground entering his body, as if tickling him. This was simply. Mojwan knew how to express his surprise and the joy and complicated feelings at this moment. He raised his head and looked at the girl. The woman stood not far away, watching him cross the tribulation with concern on her face. The two people's eyes met in midair, and at that moment, they saw each other for 1,000 years. Su Qingni smiled at the corner of her mouth, nodded at Mojwan, and moved her mouth slightly. Mojwan couldn't hear what the woman said, but he understood what she meant, which was 2 words, "Come on." Mojwan also smiled and gave Su Qingni a reassuring smile. The moment he saw Su Qingni, Mojwan felt a strong power rising in his body, and instantly restored his cultivation, and even improved his cultivation a lot, catching up with the realm of celestial beings. He felt that even without that strange metal thing, he could still survive this heavenly tribulation. With the help of the lightning rod, he easily survived the heavenly tribulation. A golden light fell from the sky, quickly repairing Mojwan's body. The charred black on his body disappeared, and Mojwan regained his handsome and elegant appearance. Mojwan walked towards Su Qingni, but Su Qingni suddenly turned around and disappeared in front of Mojwan. Mojwan was confused. What was going on? She helped him but didn't want to contact him? Mojwan didn't think that the woman looked down on him, so why? Don't expect rewards for doing good? Mojwan felt a little aggrieved, and then he felt a lot of auras approaching him quickly. Mojwan understood that the woman didn't want to contact him, but she didn't want to contact other monsters, right? His tribulation was so powerful that all the monsters in this forest were paying attention. They didn't approach because they were afraid of the thunder and didn't dare to approach. Now that the thunder has disappeared, they will naturally come to inquire about the situation as soon as possible. Some monsters even want to pick up the leak or even take advantage of the fire. Mojwan sighed and suppressed the idea of chasing after the woman. He felt that he and the woman were destined to meet each other and there would definitely be a chance for them to meet again. Even if not, he could still go find the woman. Mojwan saw that the woman was not a demon, but a human. When he stabilized his cultivation, he would go to the human society to look for the woman. Chapter 724 My husband is Yao Qi. Mojwan dealt with the affairs of the demon tribe, and another month passed. Mojwan wanted to call the two little demons to ask them about the ugly fruit, but was told by other little demons that the two little demons had left the forest. Mojwan became suspicious of the two little demons. After instructing his fellow tribesmen on many matters, he also left the forest. This time, he went out of the mountains to find the two little demons and ask them about the fruit, but more importantly, he found the woman who helped him. Su Qingni was reading a letter at home. The letter was sent by Niangniang. She was going to get married and marry the fourth prince as a princess. It turned out that the emperor had gone to their place with several sons and trusted ministers to patrol incognito some time ago, but was ambushed by assassins. Niangniang and Zhu Xiaodang happened to meet them when they returned from hunting, and helped the emperor and his group to kill all the assassins. With the merit of saving the emperor valued and loved the two very much, brought them to his side, and accompanied the emperor on the tour. Along the way, Niangniang and the fourth prince fell in love with each other. The emperor agreed to their marriage. Soon, Niangniang would marry the fourth prince. Niangniang invited Su Qingni to attend her wedding with the fourth prince. Su Qingni sighed. What would Zhu Xiaodang's reaction be if Niangniang married someone else? Zhu Xiaodang liked Niangniang. Everyone could see it except Niangniang. But Niangniang regarded Zhu Xiaodang as her younger brother and had no thoughts about him. Zhu Xiaodang didn't want to lose Niangniang, his good friend, so he could only suppress his love in his heart and be Niangniang's younger brother. Su Qingni continued to read the letter, which mentioned Zhu Xiaodang. Zhu Xiaodang's martial arts value was very appreciated by the emperor. He was kept by the emperor and became a member of the imperial guards, and also had the position of a lieutenant. Zhu Xiaodang gladly accepted the position and followed the emperor and Niangniang to Beijing. Su Qingni felt that Zhu Xiaodang accepted this position for Niangniang, so that he could be close to Niangniang and see Niangniang often. This child is a lovesick. There are lovesick people in the world, and this hatred has nothing to do with the wind and the moon. With a sigh, Su Qingni put away the letter. Su's mother came back from outside, followed by a middle-aged woman in her 40s. The middle-aged woman smiled at Su Qingni and said to Su's mother, "Madam Su is so lucky to have such a beautiful daughter." Su's mother smiled happily, "I'm not bragging, my daughter is a rare good girl. She is filial and smart, literate, and is an excellent embroidery expert. She also knows herbs." Su's mother praised Su Qingni, and the middle-aged woman nodded repeatedly. Seeing Su Qingni's expression becoming more and more satisfied, she looked at Su Qingni unscrupulously. Su Qingni frowned, and she thought she knew who the middle-aged woman was. Sure enough, after Su's mother stopped talking, the middle-aged woman told her origins. She was proposing marriage to someone. Without waiting for Su's mother to speak, Su Qingni directly refused, and politely and firmly sent the middle-aged woman, the matchmaker, out of the house. "How can you be like this?" Su's mother scolded Su Qingni. "Mom, I don't want to get married so early." Su Qingni said. "You are already 18 years old, a grown-up girl, how can you not get married?" Su's mother frowned, and an idea popped up in her mind. "Don't you have someone you like?" Su Qingni was silent. She did have someone she liked, a demon she liked. Su Qingni's silence made Su's mother frown even tighter, and she asked speculatively, "Don't you like Xiaodang?" The daughter had contact with very few men since she was a child, and there was only one Zhu Xiaodang who was a very good friend of her daughter. The two were of the same age, and Zhu Xiaodang was also very good looking. It was normal for her daughter to like Zhu Xiaodang. Su Qingni. She would be stupid to like Zhu Xiaodang. Even if it was the original owner, who had long seen that Zhu Xiaodang liked Niangniang, she would not be stupid enough to put her feelings on Zhu Xiaodang. Su's mother continued, "Xiaodang is a good kid, but he likes Niangniang. Qingni, there is no chance for you and Xiaodang. Mom, Niangniang is getting married." Su Qingni's heart moved, and she decided to use Zhu Xiaodang as a shield. Zhu Xiaodang is so stubborn. If Niangniang marries someone else, he must be very sad. He will also silently protect Niangniang and will definitely not consider getting married for a few years. She will use him as a cover, saying that she will wait for Zhu Xiaodang to change his mind. Wouldn't it be possible not to get married for a few years? The more Su Qingni thought about it, the more she thought this was a good idea. "Mom, the emperor has granted Niangniang a marriage. She is about to marry the fourth prince and become a princess. Niangniang wrote to me and invited me to Beijing to attend their wedding. Do you want to go to Beijing with me to play?" What? Ruomi is going to become a princess. Su's mother was surprised. You know, although the Ding family is a wealthy family in that city, they are just local rich people, and the distance between them and the royal family is a million miles away. Ding Ruomi was already marrying up to a high-ranking official family, and now she can even join the royal family. This child is so lucky. Su's mother sighed. No wonder the Ding family always says she is blessed. It turns out that the Ding family has long known that Ruomi will have a good future. Su Qingni thought about how good the Ding family was to Ding Ruomi. Could it be that they had told Ding Ruomi's fortune and knew that she would be rich and prosperous in the future? Su's mother heard that Ding Ruomi was married, and Zhu Xiaodang couldn't marry Ding Ruomi, so he had to marry someone else. Her daughter liked Zhu Xiaodang, so she might have a chance to marry him. Su's mother didn't want to move at first, but when she thought about going to the capital, her daughter could meet Zhu Xiaodang and cultivate their relationship, so she decided to accompany her daughter to the capital. She knew that if she didn't go, her daughter would not go to the capital to take care of herself. Su's mother decided to go to the capital, and Su Qingni naturally didn't object. She started packing her luggage and looking for a caravan to the capital. Fortunately, there are many caravans going to the capital. After Su Qingni made some assessments, she chose a caravan with good guards and a good leader, and proposed to join. The Zheng family has some reputation in the local area. The caravan leader took good care of the Su family mother and daughter along the way, and they arrived in the capital smoothly. There was a long queue at the city gate, all of whom were people entering the city for inspection. Su Qingni sat in the carriage, lifted the curtain and looked out, and her pupils couldn't help shrinking. I didn't expect to see Mo Zhuan again so soon. What is this guy doing in the capital instead of consolidating his cultivation in the mountains and forests? The capital is protected by dragon energy, which has a strong suppressive effect on monsters. Even though Mo Zhuan is now a terrestrial immortal and has gotten rid of the identity of a monster, he is not a human being, and the dragon energy still has a lot of suppression on him. Chapter 725 My husband is a demon. Mo Zhuan stood at the side of the city gate, feeling quite distressed. He needed an identity document to enter the city, but how could he, a demon, get one? The dragon energy in the capital city was very suppressive to him, and he could not use magic to confuse the guards at the city gate. What should he do to enter the city? Suddenly, Mo Zhuan heard someone calling him, "Young Master Mo Zhuan." Mo Zhuan was puzzled. Someone actually knew his name? It sounded like it was not those two daring little demons. Mo Zhuan looked over in the direction of the voice and met a pair of familiar eyes at once, which made his heart beat faster. Young Master Mo Zhuan. Su Qingni smiled at Mo Zhuan. Mo Fei didn't think about anything at this time, and walked over to meet the woman. Smile. Girl, it's you. Mo Zhuan looked at the woman and felt his heart flying. Young Master Mo, what a coincidence, why are you in the capital? Su Qingni jumped off the carriage and stood beside Mo Zhuan. Su's mother looked at Mo Zhuan with curiosity. When her daughter saw this young man, she looked like a flower blooming in the spring breeze. Could it be that her daughter liked this young man, not Zhu Xiaodang? Yes. At that time, her daughter only said that Ruomi was going to marry the fourth prince, and did not admit that she liked Zhu Xiaodang. She wanted to come to the capital because she knew that this young man was coming to the capital, so she came, right? Not for Zhu Xiaodang. Su's mother looked at Mo Zhuan from head to toe and nodded with satisfaction. Her daughter had a good eye. The young man in front of her looked better than Zhu Xiaodang. Judging from his clothes, his family conditions were also very good. The most important thing was that he looked like an ordinary person with an imposing manner. On Su's mother's side, the mother-in-law was more and more satisfied with her son-in-law. On the other side, Su Qingni set up a soundproof barrier and talked to Mo Zhuan. Why did you come to the capital? The capital is not friendly to you aliens. The dragon energy has a huge suppression on you. Su Qingni said. Mo Zhuan looked around vigilantly to see if anyone heard Su Qingni's words. He couldn't bear to blame Su Qingni for speaking carelessly, so he could only be careful. If he found that someone heard their conversation, he would use magic to erase that person's memory. Su Qingni chuckled, "Don't be so nervous, I set up a one-way soundproof barrier. We can hear the sounds from the outside world, but people outside the barrier can't hear our conversation." Mo Zhuan was surprised. There's such a magical barrier. It's nothing magical, it's a very simple principle. If you want to learn, I can teach you. Su Qingni said. Thank you. Mo Zhuan said, I will ask you for advice when I have time. Su Qingni responded and asked her question again. Mojwan replied, 2 things. One is to find the person who helped me successfully survive the heavenly tribulation, and thank her in person. Mojwan said and bowed to Su Qingni. Thank you for your help, young lady. Su Qingni smiled and said, I am very happy to be able to help you. When their eyes met, their hearts jumped, and they felt that they had been in love for 1,000 years at first sight. Mojwan said softly, I am also very happy that you are the one who helped me. The two looked at each other for a long time, and Su Qingni looked away and asked, what is the other thing? I may be able to help you. Mojwan coughed lightly, suppressed the emotions in his heart, and said, I want to find 2 people. Su Qingni, 2 monsters, right? Mojwan nodded. Su Qingni guessed, could it be the oriole and the sparrow? Mojwan was surprised. Do you know them? Have you seen them? Su Qingni said, I saw them when you were fighting with He Chao, and they were hiding aside at that time. He Chao? Do you know that python? Mojwan asked. Su Qingni said, I saved her. Do you know why you suddenly have to survive the heavenly tribulation? Mojwan nodded, I ate the 1,000-year-old red fruit. Su Qingni said, the 1,000-year-old red fruit has been guarded by He Chao for hundreds of years. The 2 little demons stole the red fruit while He Chao was practicing, and didn't leave any for her. She was so angry that she chased the 2 little demons. Mojwan was shocked and annoyed. They actually lied to me. Su Qingni, you'd better apologize to He Chao. Mojwan nodded, I know. His handsome brows locked. These 2 girls are so bold. Su Qingni sneered, this is more than just bold. These 2 little demons are simply shameless and unscrupulous. Don't say that. They are still young. They don't understand a lot of things. Mojwan spoke for the 2 little demons. Under Su Qingni's sight, his voice became smaller and smaller. Mojwan also felt guilty for saying this. What the 2 little demons did was really unkind, and they did things based on their own preferences, regardless of right or wrong, good or bad, and didn't think about the consequences at all. Wasn't he deceived by their behavior? If Su Qingni hadn't passed by and helped him at that time, I'm afraid that his ashes would have been blown away by the wind and scattered somewhere unknown. Mojwan sighed. Seeing him like this, Su Qingni said, it was their doing that you suddenly passed the tribulation? When they gave you the red fruit, did they tell you what it was? Did they remind you? Mojwan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Su Qingni said, you'd better not care about them anymore. With their personalities, they will definitely cause trouble. The black silk you provoked last time was not your opponent. What if the one they provoke next time is more powerful than you? Mojwan was silent. Su Qingni continued, from what you said, these 2 little demons ran to human society. Mojwan nodded, they should have eaten the remaining 2 red fruits, and their cultivation level increased. They felt that they had the ability to protect themselves, so they ran out of the mountain. These 2 have always envied the prosperity of human society. Su Qingni commented, they don't know what to do. You'd better not look for them. Mojwan shook his head, they are my fellow tribesmen. I can't ignore them. I must bring them back to the forest. What fellow tribesmen? You, an eagle, are of the same tribe as orioles and sparrows? It's funny. Su Qingni narrowed her eyes dangerously. You don't like one of them, do you? No. Mojwan hurriedly denied and explained anxiously, fearing that the woman in front of him would misunderstand him. I really came to find them because they are juniors of the same tribe. I don't like them, not at all. The panicked and worried look pleased Su Qingni, and her dissatisfaction disappeared. Su Qingni remembered Mojwan's current question, you don't have an identity certificate, so you can't enter the capital. Mojwan nodded. Su Qingni took out a blank identity certificate from her storage bag. This was something she prepared for herself. After her mother passed away, she would travel around the world to find the extremely dark place. How could one identity be enough? She still had to prepare a few more for herself. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.